Live from the BoD studio, it is Playin and Slayin, episode 87. And Troy and I are here holding down the fort in the depths of the winter chill
Yep.
to bring you, our fellow listeners and viewers, the gaming podcast you deserve. I think that's my new tagline. Be the podcast your listeners deserve.
Not that they need, it's what they deserve.
Right. Oh, yeah. So episode 87, we are going to talk about Midwinter Gaming Convention here in the Milwaukee area, out in Waukesha/Pewaukee, for those of you that know Wisconsin and those unpronounceable city names all around the state. Waukesha and Pewaukee. Try to spell Waukesha for somebody, and I have to remind myself W-A-U Kesha and go from there. But yeah, so that is what we're going to talk about, and then we might drop a little bit about Adepticon events, kind of the BoD Cruise event schedule, and maybe seed in like a mini lead up to Adepticon. Troy and I will share some of our hidden dining recommendations as locals that have worked in downtown. I've been down there for 19 years between living and working. You've been working down there probably
14, almost 15. Yeah.
Over a decade. Yeah. So, and we found some spots. So I think unless you've got a better idea, Troy, today might be a good, here's where you can go 5 or 6 blocks away to sneak some of the best food or best beer or whatever. Speaking of beer, when you are playing and slaying, it is important to stay hydrated. So Troy, what are you drinking tonight? I'm counting on you to hold it down.
It's in a cool cup. So this is my Hunter's Ragnarok. This is Gen Con 2023, where Hunter Entertainment, they bought out that whole, or they rented out the whole bar. If you remember, there's a bar underneath the tunnel at Gen Con. So I'm going back. Anybody who goes to Gen Con, if you go walk, I don't know what, towards
the tunnel to the Lucas
field.
Oil, right?
Yeah, Lucas Oil Field. In their tunnel, there's a bar in there, kind of underneath there. And they last year, I shouldn't say it, 2 years ago, 2023, not 24, 23, they rented out that whole thing and they ran a whole bunch of events there. And they had cool stuff like get a drink and you get this, and it's a really it's not like this is like an insulated nice cup.
It's like a leveled up plastic cup.
Yeah, it's not just like a solo cup. Yeah, it's not like a cheap solo cup. It's a nice so I thought it would be good for, again, new house cocktail. I needed a little pick me up, so we are doing the central distilling cherry vodka and white monster in there. So nice little whatever our pink drink is that you can't quite see there. So
excellent. Since Josh isn't here, he's here in spirit. I'm having a Liquid Death. This is their squeezed to death. It is the orange flavored sparkling water. So, holding it down for the man, the myth, the legend, Coop, and his Liquid Death that I think he's had for 43 episodes running. But
I'm enjoying it. So yeah, and I have not had one I don't like. Like we drink a lot of the teas, like they have the tea, but then their sparkling water, I guess I'm so used to other sparkling waters that don't taste like bad water or something like that, or where
you took the object through the water instead of these have a little bit more flavor. So
yeah, they have a good
one is pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't had. I think it was the cherry one or something like that. Cherry Obituary. Again, I ended up getting it. I tried it for free at some event, and I was bought in. So yeah, like that. I don't have my. I'm doing Monster Water. That's my. I left my water bottle upstairs, so I grabbed Monster Water as the Liquid Death competitor. So that's my.
Yeah, I might have to try that out too.
For more shows like this, check out the Goonhammer Media Network. More info at media.goonhammer.com.
All right, Troy. Now we're going to talk about the usual banter, what we've been playing, some hobby, crowdfunding, other news and items of interest, and then I think a pretty good library segment. While we hold it down for Josh and Bryce. Bryce on parental leave, Josh on medical leave. He's fine, everyone.
Yeah.
But
we have a lot of benefits here at Basement of Death. We give a lot of benefits. There's a lot of family time off and whatever. Yeah, we want to take care of our people.
Unpaid internships abound. Speaking of which, for 2025, we're looking for a social media intern. We're looking for a art and logo intern. We're looking for a content writing intern. Lots of unpaid internships available.
Yeah. And it all has unlimited unpaid time off. So.
Right. Unlimited unpaid time off and ample gaming opportunities.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Inquiries at info@basementofdeath.com. All right. Playin. So we're going to talk a lot about what we played and ran at Midwinter, kind of when we review that, but a few items that I've got in kind of the catch up from last episode and winter break. And I'm going to kind of go in reverse order. So Little Demons played at home with Nicole and Landon just the other night. We'll talk all about that at Midwinter, but new card game from Anvil 8. So we just sat down, the three of us. I sleeved up the cards and played. It was pretty fun. So then new board game that we're getting a lot of plays out of is Harmonies. Now I'm going to not think of any detail about it other than you are basically selecting tiles of different habitat types to put on your board. And then every turn you take 3 off of, there's 5 choices you get, and you take 3 of them. And then there's 5 groups of 3, right? So think about a wheel, you take 3 off and you have to place them on your board. How you place them scores you points given what kind of habitats they are at the game end, like tallest mountain, tallest building, field groupings, rivers, like going across, and they're all kind of like roughly hex shaped board that you put the token on. And then there are little cubes and animal cards. So animals prefer certain types of habitats. So like a little otter might need to have a river next to a 2 stack tall tree or forest, right? And then that card has 4 or 5 cubes on it, and each one you place unlocks a victory point total. So you're scoring for your board layout and for the animals that you can introduce into the habitat. So it kind of hits that tile placement pattern. Like, it reminded me a little bit of like if Reef and like almost My Island or My City kind of fused together.
There we go. There's Reef and My Island's over there.
A little bit of Cascadia. Like I think Reef and Reef meets Cascadia because you stack up a little bit, whereas Cascadia is all just even. So you're building up some towers on it like Reef, and then you're placing animals to fit specific patterns that you're selecting cards. So really cool, really accessible game, easy to learn, but really complex in how you can score in the strategy and layout. So super fun. It's one I want to get played with like you and Josh sometime, just because it plays quick and it's a really beautiful looking game. The art's awesome.
Yeah. And those sound like fun. Again, it sounds like you said, that whole family, again, they're not necessarily related, but I think there's a lot of cool games kind of in that space now that are really cool. And they're good. Yeah. Then aesthetically pleasing, and they have some really good,
and it showed up
mechanics and
on a ton of like top 10 lists for 2024. Like a lot of people are saying Harmonies was one of the top games like released last year. And I agree. It's a really solid game. Yep. So then I played Kill Team, Troy, the 4th edition of Kill Team, maybe.
I don't even know what this is. Yeah. Whatever just call it 2024 version. There we go.
But I built and painted some models that I talked about in the last show, and Eric, bless his heart, commented on YouTube video saying Ty bought a Kill Team. I was like, yep. Bought it, painted it, and then kind of learned how to play. We didn't do the full, like we didn't play with all the strategic cards and stuff. So I think that's the next, like, get comfortable, start adding in some of the to play like the full game. We basically just went through, here's how you activate,
right,
and like kill count, but not like all of the.
And I think that's the way to do it.
stuff.
Like your first game, just get the mechanics of the how to move guys, how to shoot, and also because there's a little bit of like cover and who's and
his Marine Sniper made me pay for being in the open.
I'm gonna at some point I'm just gonna, and Eric will listen, but I may just make it my mission to kill that guy no matter what, like no matter what.
Yeah,
like,
we had some fun.
Like I may lose like everything
else, but you want to kill the sniper.
That one guy is gonna die. Like his other Marines will be fine, and my whole force will be dead. But if we can get that sniper, because he literally hasn't been touched in like the 4 games I've played, Eric. So
yeah, there were some cinematic moments. It takes 4 Brood Brothers to kill a Space Marine captain or lieutenant. I don't know what he was, but his leader.
Yeah.
I activated like 2 troopers, a leader. I had a Gene Stealer Patriarch fight him. Like it took a ton of stuff. And then the other moment, my little he has like a satchel charge. He's like the Brood Brother demolitions guy. Ran out there and just tossed a satchel charge at 2 Marines, killed one, badly hurt the other, and then died shortly thereafter. I think to sniper fire, but he accomplished his mission of
that's right.
Plant the explosives and throw a satchel charge. So
the Gene Stealer cult, there's 100 more of those guys. Yeah, so he did his job. That's fine.
Yeah. He did what was needed. And then the last thing before I let you share, if you've played any games, Troy. So for years now, Conquest has been this game that we've looked at. Bryce and I especially think we got Josh kind of in with some models. But I started building up my 100 Kingdoms. It's like, think like Cities of Sigmar or Empire. They're kind of like the humans in the world of Conquest. Last Argument of Kings by, Parabellum Games.
I think so. I think that's correct.
And I have it right here. This is bad radio, but good TV. So my 100 Kingdoms army, it's all knights. And it's about 1,000 points roughly of the game. And I had built and assembled and painted like Zenithold them and played Dan. So we just did a starter to learn the play. We definitely got some rules wrong. Like in hindsight, we went back and we're like, oh yeah, I got this wrong, got that wrong. We were supposed to play again, but I canceled. I've been kind of a little, I think it's January depression with being a little sick with just not enough time. So I canceled on him. We were supposed to get together yesterday. I wasn't feeling good. But had a great chance over the winter break, the holidays, to get the game in, and we went to Warp Storm, played at a table there, close to home. So he met
you walked to Warp Storm.
I could have. It's all of a mile away. So how about you? Any games getting played? Game nights?
I feel like I'm going to channel Josh a little bit here. So we played, I was thinking over Christmas, I did play, I talked about before, is Outnumbered. It's a math game. It's kind of, what do you call it? Where the cards come down, where you're defending kind of the trails or whatever. And you'd basically have to roll dice, and it's all about practicing math. So I did it with Sarah and actually it was funny. I think John and I and Sarah played, and I threw in like, there's a level of difficulty. You can throw in all kinds of cards that have crazy numbers on them. So we actually lost. I think it's the first time I've ever lost at that game, but that's because I literally I'm like, we're going to play it at full blown hard mode. We'll put all the cards in, because trying to get, there's only a few combinations, and you can basically just take, I think it's 3 6-sideds, and you basically can add, subtract, or multiply them together to get whatever the number on the card is, and that's how you take them out. There's some special powers. Like you have a hero, and each of the heroes has a different thing, so they can usually modify one of the dice in some way. Like somebody might be able to add or subtract 1 from a die. Another guy might be able to flip a die to his opposite side. Another guy can like copy a die. You can whatever. So so it's kind of cool. Like you have a little power. So again, real simple. It's really meant to kind of give people reps on, for kids to get reps. But again, there's also some cool puzzles there because you're like, how do I get 47 on these 3 dice? So even, for John and I, it was a good, you can make it hard enough where you have to think a little bit. And again, there's a little bit of strategy, like how do we get, because they basically each turn they come down. I think it's like 5 rows, and then once they hit the bottom, then you lose. Or there's like they break through like a barrier once, so you get like one guy, and then the next guy is gonna kill you on some of that. So we took that. I played that over Christmas. John also over Christmas bought, I think I talked about it last year, a year before, there was the Exit Advent calendar where you kind of solve a puzzle every day. There's 2 of those out there, and John bought the second one. So we did a few of those rooms over Christmas to catch up on that. Those are kind of fun. It gets creative because it's kind of funny how they each room has its own theme, and they do a good job. And they bring it all. Sometimes there's a little bit of pop culture in there where they'll do some things, and it's always kind of, and they tell a little bit of story. I can't remember what the overall story was. This one was, I think it was something about the workshop or some elf or something else like that. So, so I think that was, and then I feel like I played something else, but I can't. Let's see. I enabled other people. Can I do that? This because we got to do a Neil from work shout out.
From work.
So I have a whole, and I don't know if I don't know if so I basically at work, I kind of took all my I would say party games, kind of like whatever games, and they're on at work on one of our common areas because some of the groups were just looking for things to do. So I have like kind of Grizzled and Coup and Love Letter. Ty, your favorite over there. I got, if you're good, I got it out of my house. It's out of my house now, if you're happy about that.
Oh, I can come over again.
Yeah, but it's closer to your work now, though. Do you feel it when you're at work? Like it's like it's only a few blocks away.
Yeah, like the shadow out of Mordor.
Yeah, and I put it up against the window on your side to look at you.
Yeah, it's like the Eye of Sauron. Just
yeah. So like Love Letter, and then trying to think what was the Mind. If you ever, I think we've talked about the Mind, where if people don't remember the Mind, you basically, it's just a deck of cards from 1 to 100, and the whole point is you just have to play like without talking or signaling or anything. You basically get the cards and you have to play them in numeric order up there with. So it's kind of, it's an interesting, because it's all about playing kind of the odds of like, where do you think your card's going to fall, or is your card the next one to go down on that? But we were talking about that, and then basically Neil's like, hey, do you have the Crew? And I think we've talked about that. And so it was funny. I thought I had it here. I actually had it in my locker at work already. And so we brought the Crew out, and Neil, it was fun to watch. I hadn't played in a little while, but Neil was over lunch teaching the group of people that he works with his team for a couple days. They've been playing through the Crew, and so it's good to. And then he recommended too is that they have Crew Deep Sea. They did like a second one for Deep Sea, and he said that's really good too. That one they've actually added a little bit. The missions are a little bit different in what you're trying to do. And again, the Crew, it's all about trick taking. So, and it basically, you're trying to fulfill the mission. You basically have to, so it'll be like one person will be like, this person can't win a trick. And so you have to kind of play again with limited communication and whatever.
Yeah.
You have to kind of fulfill the needs of that. Or it's like, you'll have a certain card, like you have like the certain person has to get the 2 or whatever it is. So you have to make sure that they win the trick that has that card in it. So the basic mechanic is kind of trick taking with that. But what's funny is then you lay over each mission has different rules for how you need to accomplish that trick taking to do it. And again, they put a little bit of a theme around your crew of a spaceship or space, and you're trying to fulfill some of the missions. So it's kind of, if you think about it, right, very basic mechanics, but they kind of build some stuff around it that makes it kind of fun. And that's what what Neil said is then Deep Sea, they added a little bit more even around, I think, types of different things you have to do to win the mission with that. So good. Yeah. So I enabled games.
That's great.
How that works.
That counts. Just like, acquisition is hobby, enabling gaming is gaming. How about hobby? What have you been cooking up in the lab?
Let's see, not a whole. I'm trying to think if I even painted anything for as we went into midwinter. Because I think we bailed. I was gonna do some zombicide stuff, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna run what I already have. I haven't been doing. I have stuff on my paint counter. I do is assembly hobby. Is assembling
Building models?
Space Hulk? No, how about assembling
Oh.
Space Hulk? So over the weekend,
Oh, to get your map layout.
It's finally that time. We're at whatever we are, 70, 60. I think we're under 70.
Yeah.
I think or maybe it's somebody to it. I could look at my little countdown if I have it here.
It's got to be under 70 days.
60. We're almost 60, 63. Yep. That would, yeah, because I have 70 in our notes. That's because we were going to record last week. So that's why
we got delayed a week.
There we go. So I have an 8x6 table, not 12x6 yet, because the peek behind the scenes is we usually don't set up the whole map right away. We set up the middle and one side because the other side's the same, that we do for a lot of our play testing and setup like that. So we started that. I just have the center building or center landing pad up. The Thunderhawk is back out. See if we have to do any cleanup on that. John and I might have been playing with LED lights to see what, how to make the landing pad light up and glow. So
does the landing pad need any caution stripes? Because
yes,
I know a guy who has recently enjoyed doing
elevator
stripes. So
all the elevators do. So I was just looking at that. There's some areas that are calling out. They're literally like, as people who are listening, they're angled. They're little angled brackets that are like, oh, I should be painted yellow. Yeah.
Because I found the secret. I found the cheat code.
No. Oh yeah, the little Tamara tape. Yep.
That is the cheat code.
Yep.
This is the Vallejo.
Oh, it's the Vallejo one. Okay.
Masking tape, 10 millimeter by 18. No paint bleed or annoying paint lines. Precise and intricate masking. UV protected for masking in direct sunlight. But who hobbies in direct sunlight? And each roll is like $7.
Yeah.
That's the ticket.
Yeah, you lay it down, pull it, you're good.
I did it by hand. I painted all those caution stripes by hand. Takes a little extra time. You get some layers.
Kinda. I don't know. Like, do you find Ty? It's funny. Like, we're going down the thing. Like, I have had, depending on what I'm doing, because I've done that with the tape, and I'm like, oh, this is really going to make it look good and whatever. But it takes a little time to like lay out the tape, get your spacing right, do some of that. And there are some times when I was just like, I can probably freehand it and again, depending on how exact you really want,
I just did the tape. I did the tape and then I painted. And I did the section all black, and yes, painting yellow over black is a pain in the ass, but if you use the right yellow, it's less a pain in the ass. But I like how that looks to layer, because then when you weather, you get some areas that I don't know are a little better. So, but I'll interject. I painted a lot of terrain leading up to midwinter.
Yes. Oh, we will get to that, right? We'll.
I think we'll share some photos and other stuff, but and there was a fair bit of hazard stripes that I added to the crisis protocol terrain that I painted.
Yeah. But so that's good. So my direct hobby has not been good, but been doing a lot of and we'll talk. There was a lot of just prep for midwinter that was taking some time, and I ended up not having to do a lot of actual miniature stuff for midwinter, but just kind of laying out stuff and organizing. So
excellent.
How about you? Besides what we talked about, there's a
Saw
lot.
the train. I'm gonna go back to my desk and just see if I can find anything I've been working on. You'll have to tell me if it shows up okay. But these nights are so much fun for 100 Kingdoms. So all I did is like I hand prime them because it's been far too cold, and I also couldn't really get my airbrush going. So I used, I think Pro Acryl primer, and then I just started layering Pro Acryl grays and a little bit of linen over it. So I did my full 1,000 points of Conquest Knights, all kind of zenithal up and ready to go. And then I did the same on my kill team, and now I'm going to do it on the next kill team because there's something about just hand priming, and Dr. Gabe's like, why are you priming? You should just paint it. But
He's
it's kind of
a
fun.
heretic. Gabe is
And
a heretic.
the zenithal dry brushing is kind of fun. And then I think for Conquest, I'm just going to do like the slap chop contrast. I'm not going to do like a real special paint job on them. And I'll probably do the similar for Kill Team just because they're both games that I just want to have my stuff be painted. And after you do a really detailed zenithal, I think you can get away with kind of cheating a little bit on the
and they look completely
painting.
fine. And they look awesome. I mean, they ended up looking. I mean, it's not like that. Oh, and I did. If I actually read the notes that I put in here, I told you, Ty, that sometimes I do my notes well ahead of our show, and sometimes I forget.
And then you forget what you
and I
had
forget
on
I
there.
did. Yeah, and I did do. I know how much you like talking about 3D printing, but
I love 3D printing.
I did create new Zombicide Invader tokens, all from that we 3D printed in full like multicolor.
Ooh,
and they were like
fancy.
And I haven't painted one because I didn't have purple filament, and I wanted to do a purple counter, so I did white, and then I painted the white purple. So that was like my hobby. But so yeah, it's just our pet peeve. Like you could buy like real, like whatever they call it, like Simon actually sells like a token set for Zombicide Invader, and it was terrible. Like it was like not bright. It was just like and so for a couple of years we've been like, oh, I need to redo that. And now, I have my multicolor 3D printer. So it was literally, you can paint. So Ty, you can go into 3D thing and I can basically paint onto the computer and say, I want this part to be what color, this part to be the other color.
Yeah.
And I just like push a button and it comes out.
Because you have like multicolored spools or something.
Yeah.
So
and it
makes sense because I mean, heck, where's that where you can 3D print your character model?
Yep.
Hero Forge.
Yeah, Hero Forge. Yep.
And you can have it painted, like pre-painted. Yep. They've got to just be doing that, like, but just at a more precise and detailed level. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the resin. If you, I think it was Fohammer. He did a video around. There's around kind of I want to say what's the right professional industrial grade color 3D printing. He went and did a tour. I would say it's magic, but super cool how on a resin, the computer basically it's laying out the base resin and then it because it's like raining down the resin.
Yeah.
And then it basically knows like, oh, I need to rain down this color and then
precise spot
and then down. And he does a really cool video about the technology and how it works. And it's just, it's going to be amazing again, where we go. Right. Like, cause so much easier to again,
we're not that far away from like the Star Trek replicator, right?
Yeah. Like, oh, I need this thing, boom. And here it goes and print it out. So, and again, and even for gaming, it'll be interesting.
But I think that was Next Generation that had the replicator, and it was probably for food, not for objects. I don't know, but
anything. I think it was even the original had. I think the original had something.
Okay,
and then and Next Gen, I think you could do any. I know you could do food. And then I thought you could do anything, like even clothes. Like, hey, I need a new set of clothes.
We'll have to ask. We'll ask the expert, Terrace, when we have a.
Oh yeah, there we go. There we go.
Yes, he can tell us what episode it was, and So file that away for question for Terrace, other than logistics for Adepticon. Yeah, so 3D printing. Have you printed more terrain or anything like new for the table yet, or
Not yet. I am putting a plan together again as we're doing kind of some more Marvel Crisis Protocol. So I think as we lay out some of the other games, I may do a few pieces for some of those other games, but they're not going to be huge. It's just going to be some stuff to spice up a few of those other boards. So I have not printed because I don't have a plan. I'm like, you can just, because sometimes it's funny. You feel like I could be printing, but I'm like, I really don't know what I should be printing. So
yeah,
even though it might not feel like a way, it's like I'm just gonna be precise and print when I know exactly what I need to print, rather than print a bunch of random stuff and then not actually print what I needed. So it's like,
yeah. I feel like half the time I would be trying to figure out what print files to even acquire and select to print stuff. That's why I've avoided it. Beyond it, I would never want to troubleshoot my 3D printer. So
we're getting close again. Like the bamboos and a lot of the next generation stuff now is very much kind of it's kind of where like the old, previously, if you bought like the $2,000 3D printer, it was kind of push and play, kind of like that. Then a lot of the hobby ones were exactly what you're right. I can't tell you how many hours and days I spent trying to get them to work, right? And they never ever did, right? But then like now these next generation now, it's much more, like I said, it's, I'm on my computer, pull stuff up, send it over, and now, and it's got 3 to 4 different colors of filament in it automatically. And and that's just now. Like, it'll be interesting to see. It's going to continue to get more and more push and play. Like there will be a time it feels like everyone's going to have some kind of because it's almost like things are going to, at some point there'll be a tipping point. It feels like you won't, are you really going to manufacture this, or are you just going to hey, here, people can all, if they need this part for their thing, here's the thing, just go print it, right? Kind of.
Definitely. All right, I think that's hobby, right?
Yep. We danced around it. We did some real hobby, some fake hobby, some whatever.
A whole mix.
It'll ramp. It'll ramp. We're in that. Especially for me.
2 months will be wild.
This is it's like I don't.
You need a deadline. You need to get close.
And then
enough
I
to
go.
the deadline.
And then I go. And then I burn myself out, and then I don't
recover
for a while,
300
and I have
days.
To recover, right, and then come
back. 365-degree cycle, 300 of which is just recovery,
right.
65 of which is pure, unadulterated,
right, pure vertical hobby madness.
Yeah, totally normal and healthy.
No, it feels like an eating disorder.
Totally normal. Hobby binging is okay, Troy. Don't let anyone tell you it's not.
I don't want to make light of any eating disorder, but
no.
It is very much, like there probably is like anything, a happy medium that I could try and achieve. But
there's probably a balance, but
yeah.
For now, we don't think that's possible for you because we're 63 days away from Adepticon.
Yeah.
All right. How can you help your hobby binge, though, that's coming? My guess is it has to do with this Kickstarter.
I just saw this because I know these guys are some of your favorites, right? The Red Grass, and I noticed they were doing a Kickstarter for a new desk lamp. And it actually got me in, and it is not. I will say it's not cheap, but it's probably high quality. And as much as and I guess I think we need to say it. Maybe you don't need to say it. Like, having good lighting at your painting desk makes a ton of difference. Not that I'm trying to sell it their solo desk lamp, but basically I think it's for, a desk lamp. You could use it for anything. I think they know that hobbyists would definitely get a good, but it has a lot of really good features. Again, I think they've done some other stuff in the past. And I know, like Ty, right, they've done other like the wet palette and other hobby supplies.
Their brushes and wet palettes are amazing. Bryce may have got one of their lamps,
because I think they had a bigger lamp. Yeah, previous lamp. I think this is because I think they had like a dual one, and this is their solo. They have like a different. So I just saw that, and I figured I'd ran across it and seemed
Yeah.
like something that
I love that it has a clamp and base.
Yep.
It's foldable, portable. They give you a carry bag. Pure white daylight, 5000 K, 1100 lumens. Yeah, dimmable, 10 to 100. Yeah.
Everything
This
you
looks
want.
pretty sweet. And they're funded, so it'll be coming.
Yep.
Yeah, that looks like a good product.
Yeah, and I assume it'll be available in retail at some point too. But
Yeah, and they got
if you
Duncan
want it.
Rhodes and Angel Giraldez using it. Yeah. Okay. If Duncan and Giraldez use it, you're.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I like it. I'll probably end up 13 days left to make up my mind if I'm gonna get it or not and add it to the hobby workstation. Do you want to hear my tale of Kickstarter / GameFound updates?
Sure.
So just about a year ago, I got on a late pledge on GameFound for a game called Forsaken by Game Trays. So the company that makes the inserts had a board game. They kickstarted successfully end of 22, early 23. They started getting like production models. They hit 24, and then it went dark shortly after I funded. Most of 2024, they were involved in legal disagreements about IP and art and various things. And then they started slow feeding. They couldn't, because they really literally couldn't talk about it. It looks like they have cleared the hurdle. To do so, they had to get some new art, some new models, some new stuff. And now they're sending those proofs. So it looks like it might be back on track for a sometime in 2025 publication. Now, this game, what got me is it's kind of like a near future Mandalorian-esque bounty hunter, like open world. It looks like they do a lot of cool stuff. So it's the whole idea is a sandbox adventure with endless possibilities. And it basically, like, I don't know, stop me if I've talked about this, Troy, when I may have when I backed it over a year and a half ago.
Nobody remembers.
But like there's a map that you kind of move around this planet, this world. You have these cards for item, your player board, cards that are like story cards and feats, and there's a ton of decks and a lot going on. But it looks really kind of like it has like a Star Wars Fallout vibe. I don't know. And it grabbed me that it had the cool characters and the cool art, and a bunch of expansions and planet boards that you travel around. So it looks like it could be a lot of fun. And I'm hopeful that it means it's back. I got a little nervous there for most of the last year, but their January update tended to like give you that feeling of, okay, they're kind of back, things are trucking along. They're still having some issues, like print proofs were approved, assets were resubmitted after the whole dumpster fire. Their roadmap timeline literally has just a dumpster fire with 2024 on it, went like on there. But they've resubmitted the manufacturer, so then they're planning on print proofs in April, mass production in June, July, freight Q3, so distribution hubs Q3, and end of fulfillment by Q4. So we'll see. But I haven't backed much else in the meantime because it's 2023 was where they basically had like opened the late back, right?
Yeah.
And then it just.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, at least, you can you can understand that, especially if it was legal trouble where you basically get stuck and then you can't even, for legal reasons, they can't even comment. You can't
comment, can't proceed, can't do anything other than telling your backers it's involved in a dispute and you don't have an update. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not great, but it makes sense around that. I do have my cautionary tale is, I think, back in 2020. I've backed. Maybe people. There's I would call it remote control dice, where you would roll like a physical die called pixels. You roll a physical die. It's like LED. It lights up, and then it's got a Bluetooth, so it can integrate with like Roll20 and things like that.
Yeah.
So that was 2020. They're still trying to. I think they have some fulfillment. It's funny about people who get into manufacturing without any manufacturing background. Like they might have had engineering background and like electronics, but have never worked in an actual factory to figure out, how do you take this? I can build one of these things. How do I build 10,000?
10,000. Yeah.
And not having the right people and again, you had some COVID, but this is 2020. What year is it, Ty? I just want
it's now 2025. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at least I get updates. I think there are some dice. Like I think you can go on Amazon right now and purchase something from that company. I think they actually have figured out how to manufacture a couple of styles of the dice that whatever I ordered. I don't even remember what I ordered. Whatever it is that I ordered, they can't figure out how to manufacture yet, or it's in
anything with more than 4 sides. They haven't been able to get yet. So if you need a D4, you can.
I don't even know if because that's tiny. Like I don't even like this. I don't even know. I kind of I read the updates for fun now.
Yeah.
And I actually might get something someday from that, but
yeah, maybe.
But just because they actually are a real. Again, I think you can go on Amazon and you can actually buy something there, which again makes backers really, really happy when they haven't got anything and they're selling. That
some
said,
stranger on the internet can go buy it. Yeah.
Yeah. That said, it's like I can understand again. I want them to have a revenue stream, because if they have a revenue stream, then I actually have a chance of maybe getting something someday where if they're not generating money and they go belly up, I get nothing ever. Right. So again, not the great experience, not whatever, but I can understand why you have to do that to run a company. So, to get there, but yeah, buy real manufacturing engineers might be a key to a manufacturing Kickstarter. So that's just my opinion. I did work in a manufacturing plant when I was at G Medical. So maybe I have slight experience. I didn't make anything, but I saw people who made stuff. So
yeah. Well, let's skip past Kickstarter, because we talked about 63 days to Adepticon.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in this non-Kickstarter piece of furniture that you have found.
I stumbled on this. I don't know why. I was on a game table kind of thing, and for reasons I was looking at non-wormwood things, and then my cautionary tale of a table of the ultimate gaming table that I have, and I like my table, but just talk about a company that I was extremely lucky to have this one. This is like now a legacy because you get, and I don't know why I ended up. I think I still have a couple parts for this table that I have right here next to me that I'm typing on right here. And I think that's how I went down the rabbit hole of I was like looking to see if there were any other people out there that might want to buy those parts from me, because I was going to try and clean my basement out. And then I would think I was on the deep bowels of Reddit and saw this Zolamod. Zolamod, do you think is how you say it? Zolamod, yep.
Yeah.
I believe a U.S. company does game tables. The pricing seems right for what you're getting. I mean, custom furniture is not cheap, but you're not, it's not custom furniture prices. It is whatever your local furniture store prices is what it feels like. Looks like high quality stuff's in stock. You can,
I'm tempted to send this to my wife and say, hey, this looks really good for a kitchen table.
Yep. So again, I don't have any hands-on endorsement. Again, this came from a Reddit endorsement, but I thought I would share it because I had not heard of them until that. So, and it looks like they do some decent stuff. And I don't know where. I mean, they're somewhere in the U.S. I didn't look exactly where the heck, if they say where they actually are.
You can become a Zola dealer. So
yeah, and they have a couple. Yeah, I think they
with.
actually have 3 places in the U.S. that are actually dealers. Yeah, across the thing. So,
yeah, pretty neat. Some really cool accessories too, like card trays.
Yep.
Neat. I'll spend a good amount of time looking at that. Wishing
sorry,
I had extra space.
Yeah, sorry. Well, you have a kitchen. There you go.
Yeah, because I have my board game tabletopper that I got from that guy on Etsy, which I really like down here, but can never, sometimes just want to play a game upstairs.
Yep.
What are we? Is this the next thing? Are we going?
Yep, this is the next thing.
All right.
So for people listening, I don't know what I'll do. We talked about Dragonfall and is a really cool miniature focus, trying to get more different kind of games focused down in Lake Geneva for the last couple of years. Lots of great people down there. They are very much a charity convention. They have a big charity auction and things like that. And I won something finally. So this was actually not one of they have a big giant raffle, but then outside the hall, there was this table and these guys supporting MHCP, which I should remember what that is. It's mental health organization, and you could enter for that. And I think after you entered, they gave you a couple of free minis from, I think it's the Ravaged Star stuff that they were giving away. And then I won. All of a sudden, I got a note. It was funny. I forgot because I got an email that said, "Hey, you won." And then it wasn't until a few weeks later that Keith Cohn sent me a little note. That's what I'm reading. And this is the Creature Caster Lord of Destruction model, which is pretty cool. And he painted it up for me. And he is Dig Baddie, so don't trip over that. Not
Big Daddy.
Not Dig. Big. Yeah, Dig Baddie 72 on Instagram, and he does this, and he does other kind of commission work and charity work and things like that. So, Keith, appreciate it. Again, appreciate Dragonfall for doing that. Again, the Creature Caster ones are right. They don't make bad models, and he did a nice job. I don't know if you can see it. He did a nice mix of kind of matte, and then he glossed up any of the blood on there. So I have a cool little display miniature for So I never win anything, so it's cool. And you felt good because I donated to a good cause too. So,
well, speaking of good causes, have you considered lending your soul to the Trench Crusade? So, as you pointed out before the show, somehow the BoD and members were about 3 months late to this.
Yeah, something like that. At least 2, maybe.
Yeah, but Trench Crusade has taken over our other miniature games channel on the BoD Discord over the last week, plus with people claiming factions, Dr. Gabe taking print orders, lists being made, rule questions and clarity, planning the BoD meetup event, and how we're going to convince you to find some open tables near the BoD gaming space that we can put some of those 3x3 boards down to play Trench Crusade at Adepticon and take advantage of the designer being there to ask some questions and learn the play. But we are, and there's, I don't know maybe 6 or 7, 8 people that have been pretty interested in getting going. Raph and Danner and Bryce and Dr. Gabe, myself, even Paul, Coop, so we just got to show Troy how much fun it is, and then we can recruit Troy to the Trench Crusade. But I was talking with Josh the other night, and I said, I really wish there was a way to do something for Gabe for creating this swell of hobby energy. So Dr. Gabe, I don't know if you listen every episode, but we're going to try to figure out something to give you for getting everybody collectively as excited, I think, as the BoD community's been in a while about a game or anything. We tend to do this where we get real in on one thing, but usually it doesn't go to the follow through point. But the lists are the models are getting shipped out. But this is by the original designer of Mordheim, Mike Franchina, the artist. It's his world, it's his ideas brought to life through a hugely successful Kickstarter, which I think really is central to the idea of 3D printing and like getting the files out and letting kind of the players be, producers of the miniatures versus kind of high price point cost to enter miniature gaming that we're tending to see from a lot of companies now. So it's kind of, I don't know, I don't want to call it like pirate gaming, but it's kind of that like punk rock gaming, and it has that aesthetic of we don't care how dark and violent and creepy we are. We don't care, what you think about the rules, or like it's going to be really interesting to see how they continue to support it, because that is tremendously successful Kickstarter. And it is kind of interesting to see that kind of small number of people involved. But as the Kickstarter grew, starting to get some absolute legends, Graham McNeil to write a story, Gavin Thorpe to write, people to create characters, like special characters and models and art. It's just wild. And I know we're months late to it, but it's been a huge kind of upswing for us. And I think we already have some plans for a few nights of Trench Crusade at Adepticon. So there might be a game of Space Hulk going on, and we might be being loud and obnoxious at table over, battling in the trenches of alternate World War I between the forces of heaven and hell. So more to come, but Trench Crusade has caught on. Shipping orders are going out from Dr. Gabe Labs, not a medical device supplier, but a resin printing operation.
Yeah.
So
at least that's what you put on the label. It's amazing what you can get through if you just put that on the label, right? That's a good.
Yeah, and it's
although
going to be
there's no borders being crossed, so it's all right.
It's going to be a great way to use, I think, those 2 3x3 boards.
It's a good timing, because they were coming to like, I was like, all right, these are taking up space. Are we ever really going to see them again? Again, they have sentimental value because they were created by. So it was funny how I think, as you guys were saying, I said, "Oh, this is great," because I was literally deciding were they gonna like come to end of life, or now they may get reborn if they can, because they feel like they're gonna fit perfect. I think from the aesthetic a little bit.
Yeah,
they have a big trench going down the middle.
Either get them from you and bring them to Adepticon, or see if there's a way to get them brought to Adepticon. But the other mission for you, and I maybe Matt Weeks or somebody will help, is if there's just a little bit of extra space, which I hear there's a ton of.
We'll have to look. We'll just have to figure out the schedule, because I think, again, we have our area and tables. Again, we can figure that out, because there are a few other events Matt said in that I just don't know the exact schedule, but I think we'll be able to figure out when those other we should be able to have room. We'll just have to figure exactly when other people might be around using that stuff, but we should be able to find some room to do it. Yeah, we'll figure out logistics.
Otherwise, it's
as much as the boards are really good. I don't know that we want that. Also, is going to be a little bit of a pain. They are not light either, though. That's so we'll have to figure out how to. Somebody made it maybe their job to get them to escort them around.
We'll figure it out.
Cool. And Trench Crusade. Again, as Ty said, I am not on that list. I was joking with him, because I was all of a sudden when everybody got really excited. And it's funny, I haven't seen this much excitement from this group since the re-release of Age of Sigmar back how many years ago. Because that's one of the few that stuck, where like Ty says, you'll get these new games and they'll be like in interest, but a lot of times there's a lot of interest and not a lot of follow through. It's interesting to see this one has a little bit more. It's getting to the wave. It seems like the wave's going to continue. But I hadn't seen that since AOS back in the day.
Raph is putting World War I poetry out. Danner has become the list guru. Will Conway is getting in the hype, even though he won't be there. Just right in list. We got Brian Nero reinvigorated. I don't know. There's going to be at least 5 or 6 of us, I can guarantee, that are looking to figure out how we can play it at Adepticon.
Yeah. But again, and when I looked at it, again, I was really, because the aesthetic doesn't do a lot for me. World War I doesn't, it kind of thing. As I read in, the lore is super interesting. So as I read the lore primer they have out, which is, I mean, they call it a lore sampler, but it's like, I don't even know how many pages it is, like 50, 60 pages. So it goes in pretty depth. I mean, if you haven't looked at, but I find the lore really interesting. I just not super excited about the models. It's a little too graphic, a little too horror-ish. It kind of reminds me of a little bit of like Kingdom Death, where I was like, oh, Kingdom Death is really cool and kind of thing. But again, the miniatures are always just a little bit over the top, kind of more of that horror aspect kind of thing like that. So it just didn't grab me around some of that. So yeah, that's why I was laughing, because I had looked at it right back in November-ish, when the rest of the world was getting all was hype around it. But again, I find the lore, because I think the lore, and yeah, I mean, you talk about World War I, heaven and hell, but there's no good people in this at all.
It's all bad.
It is all bad, which is good. I mean, in some ways, it's kind of a little bit of that 40K. Like, everybody's very well. Here, I would just say everyone's bad. In 40K, you could argue there's a lot of gray. I don't know that there's a gray faction here. I think everything I've seen is like it's bad and bad. It's the corrupt church versus pure evil and demons. So pick your poison.
Maybe demons are the good guys.
That I think you could make, like, hey, you read some of these. That's what I find intriguing, is how dark whatever it is. You're like, I think I can make an argument the demons are actually are freedom fighters. So
Trench Crusade, check it out.
Yeah.
The rules are all online. Everything's online. Like, there's no paywall. Yep. You can get literally everything you need on the website. The paywall might be buying the prints for minis, but it's miniature agnostic. So you could just as easily use Kill Team models or demons or who knows what, other minis. I think I've seen some ideas for how to use like Chaos Cultists and other stuff. So certainly interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's also an interesting experiment, like you said, Ty, and kind of it's not even boutique boutique miniature gaming. It's real, like, I love the punk rock metaphor that you put out there. Like, it's really the punk rock miniature gaming, and what is there really gonna what's going to grow up around that community? What does it mean for, how does it sustain? What is, is it going to be able to get enough traction from, like, it running at a con here, there, whatever? Because I think again, we could go down a whole thing, right? Because the interesting part is they've kind of, like, my guess is you're not going to see it played at your local game store, because they've cut out the whole local game. There is nothing being sold for this at a local game store, right? Paint,
right?
So I think that's something to think about, is you've kind of cut that out. And is that okay? Like, can this survive in kind of the, the underground? If you want to use it, right? It's in the basements and the things, and it shows up at a con where, kind of agnostic.
Cool boards,
but it's not going to have kind of your whatever retail support that other things have. So I think it's interesting. It's an interesting experiment. Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
It's an interesting case study, like to follow and see. Yeah,
because they are, and again, I think they found something cool. They've got funding, and they've got and because it's cool, they've got other people who are, and again, they got funding so they can pay. And I'm sure Graham's not writing the story for free, right?
No.
But
No.
I mean, yeah, he's a mercenary like everyone else, but I'm sure he finds it intriguing, and then if he can make a payday out of it too, it's pretty interesting. So yeah, so
more
cool.
to come, more updates as I think I'll have models soon, and I can start talking about hobby and terrain. I've already been getting terrain ideas, like what I can use, how I can get a table of it. Yeah,
I just have the lore book open, Ty, and I'm disturbed. I'm not even gonna be able to sleep after this. Like the art in here is amazing. It's amazing, but it's amazingly, just amazingly dark. That's the
very
super
creepy.
Cool.
Yeah. Speaking of dark, there is a publication called Grimdark Magazine. Not sure if you're familiar with that. But Grimdark Magazine is basically they do interviews, reviews. I think you can subscribe. I think it's all digital. But they do a cool article at the end of the last few years, where the editor collects kind of recommendations from their staff, like the staff writers and contributors. So, and they did the best fantasy, horror, and sci-fi books of 2024. They published it December 26th. And when you go, you see kind of what they picked and the books out there. There's some that I had heard of, some that were already on my to be read, some that I had already read and was like, yes, 100%. But like The End in Death, Volume 3 by Dan Abnett.
Yeah, I read that one.
The Daughter's War, Chris Buhlman.
Yeah, you read that one.
A bunch of horror. And then one book caught my interest. I was going to talk about it in the library, but I'm going to talk about it here. The Last Shield by Cameron Johnston. And when I saw this, Troy, you were the first person I thought of who might enjoy this. But I know I will. And I'm going to read the description because I think it's that good and I'm this interested. And this is ultimately where I went with this article. But it is a gender-flipped diehard set in a mysterious castle. Cameron Johnston's The Last Shield is an engaging fantasy read. And this is one of the contributors. When I initially heard of this story, it had me at gender-flipped diehard. What a perfect elevator pitch for folks like me. I like big, mean, take no prisoners heroes, often morally gray, just doing my job type folks. This story has that in spades. Even better, the main character is female. Not often seen in books like this. How much fight can one broken old woman have left in her? So, like, it screamed cool concept. It describes the world a little bit, and then I saw it, and then the list went on to share a bunch of other books. And then what I did is I started going back through their 2023, 22, 21, 2019 lists and adding to my to be read. But it seems to be a relatively small online publication. I had heard of them, but I didn't really read much of their content before. But as you go on to, it's the home of grimdark fantasy, sci-fi, and horror books, comics, movies, and more. And there's a bunch of articles and blog posts and reviews of various shows and films and anime and books. So it's definitely going to be something that likely gets added to my go and see what they have. But I was drawn to it by the best of list. So, and then the last thing before we go to the library, Troy, I do want to share this with you. Even though you're vegan, for my birthday, I got Mythical Meats. It is a Dungeons and Dragons Adventurers Rations class pack exotic game snack sticks. So I got it from Nicole and Landon, but they have the Bard buffalo style chicken with beef stick, the Barbarian sriracha flavored duck with beef and chicken stick, but it's all different flavored meat sticks of different animals. Some are honey ham pork, habanero BBQ, slow burn alligator with beef and pork, BBQ style camel with beef, like all different animal meats and seasonings and mixes, done in partnership with Wizards of the Coast. Mythical Meats. I had never known it to be a thing. Prepared for Mythical Meats LLC, Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. So
I did not hear owl bear in that or cobalt.
No fantasy creatures, all real Earth creatures. But we got some venison, we got some elk, beef and buffalo, turkey, like all different kinds of meats and pretty bold flavors. Some are pretty spicy, but I've been working my way through the, and beef sticks, they're each 80, 90 calories, so it's not gonna.
I don't know. I would have expected Wizard of the Coast to open up a portal to the multiverse and get you some real fantasy. Yeah, like
we'll have to talk.
You know how hard it would have cost you more though. Probably it would have been a little bit more.
Probably. Yeah. Now, if we had a replicator, we could have done that.
Yep.
So, I'll talk to my wizards guy. With that being said, mythical meats, D&D. Should we dive into the library?
Sure.
Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Sure. And I'm going to add something really quick here. And I have not read it, but I'm going to do an ad for it. So one of my coworkers, Livy, let me know that she actually they published a book, and it's called How to Celebrate Your Fandom. And it talks all about if I get back here, basically, if you're, a fan of whether that's a show or a genre or a game or whatever, how do you build that community? How do you do things like that? So we will share the link there, but How to Celebrate Your Fandom. It's got interviews of people and just kind of celebrates I think, the real positive side of, nowadays, these communities built up around, whether she's a big, I know, Doctor Who person, she does things. So I think some of that, is kind of these fandom groups that have come up, and it's an examination of that and kind of a little bit of a how-to of building communities, healthy communities around that kind of thing there. So wanted to shout that out. Livy's great. She also does runs a lot of role-playing games around things like that, and a huge Doctor Who fan besides other things. So wanted to throw that out there as we jump into the library. And then I think I finished up a bunch of stuff. So I think I was reading 40 Thieves on Saipan, finished that book over the holidays. It was written by the son of the guy who led this group, which was the Marine snipers on Saipan.
Yeah, I remember you starting to talk about that.
I can't. One of the again, and then in the end, he talked about, again, how did he write the book, right? Like a lot of these, I don't know if Ty, if you have anybody in your family or some of that, but a lot of that group of people who were in World War II and in the, and a little bit, again, people also, I think, were in Vietnam and things like that, just never talked about what they went through and what they went. And again, he talked about that, a lot, all these dads and uncles and grandfathers that were in there. And so he talked about a little bit about how he's got kind of in and got them to kind of start talking to get this up. But really, really interesting book. And really, and those guys were really in it. And it was it was hard, like a little hard at times around. I mean, a lot of guys didn't make it, right? And they do a really good job of, each chapter, not I say each chapter, but, they highlight some of the individuals that came through and just, I just can't imagine, I can't imagine that through. And it's a little bit, again, it kind of ties into, in the past, I remember you and I, Ty, way back in the day, would play a little bit, played some Flames of War and things like that. And over time, I found I didn't, people do it. And I know a lot of military people play the military games. I have a hard time. I find I have a hard time with it, because you're these were real people doing real things or whatever. And you're playing a game and you're not doing, some things, but sometimes I find it hard to playing those military games, because you're
Mhm.
like, these were real people in real lives and things like that, and it's a lot
Yeah,
easier to play a space game where we're doing
yeah.
aliens and things like that, that are on that. So
It's that whole, like, separation of belief, right? Like, when you're
yep,
watching something on TV, right, like, you have to remember it's fiction, and when you're
yep.
gaming, it makes it tough, and there is that whole, like, I think
It's
there is definitely a lane in which there's a lot of respect and
respect and
appreciation
tribute and yeah,
for
and
the
yep,
units and the attention to the detail and, like, the history and the force. Like, there are
yep,
guys and men and women that get 100% into it to honor,
yep,
the history. And then there are others that certainly abuse that and probably don't. But, like, I think there's a big historical miniature, you know, gaming swim lane,
yep,
which is paying honor to it, and they see it as a way of kind of recreating and carrying that history and that torch of, hey,
yep,
this was an event that mattered. This is the people that it affected. So
yep,
I get your point. It's hard sometimes to separate that, and it's not for everyone, but there is, I think, there is
yep.
definitely a community around, like, it as a way of honoring, right?
Yep, yeah,
So
and again, I appreciate and what
yeah.
and definitely love it and have played it in times, but there, it sometimes it's just like, well, I understand
Yeah.
why I don't also dive into
Mhm.
like I read a book like this, and that's like, oh, I kind of know why I don't like really dive into that side on that. But again, and I would just again small. It's a small print, doesn't not there, but if you get a chance, have anything, I would recommend it around that, because it guys are really in it.
Mhm.
The next one you'd be excited, Ty. We talked about that. Black Ton Thief, just finished that up last week. I'm trying to like. It's problem is it's like early in the year, so I'm like, do I throw a 5-star on there right away? Do I do a 4 and come back maybe and like bump it up? I really enjoyed it. Like I think I talked about last time, just starting it up, and I really enjoyed listening to it. Like, it was funny how I found like Christopher Bielman, who that's amazing me that he's doing it himself. Like, he
Yeah.
narrates it with the whatever it is, Irish, Scott, like whatever accent he's doing there. And it and so it's funny, like I had it on both because I wanted to keep going, so I would go to Kindle, and then after a while I'm like, you know what, I want I'm like, I'm gonna listen to this because his dialogue is so amazing, and I can't. And when you're and once you hear it, when I'm reading it, I can't do the justice to the names and the accent and the whatever. And I'm like, I feel like I'm losing something by not getting it read to me. So I had to I had to listen to it to kind of work through it. Really enjoyed it. I'll probably again add Daughter's War on my list to um, at some point this year to dive in there. But again, and there's something, and what's the right, and maybe you've probably said it, Ty, when you did all your accolades around this. It's almost like it's like a little bit of like an Abercrombie, like the world is, but
It,
not,
it's
but then he has, and I'm gonna like again, not for any whatever. It's almost like I feel a little bit almost like a Pat Rothfuss in terms of the care, like the writing
yeah,
and the
the
dialogue
prose
and the
itself.
prose itself. Like, it's like I took Abercrombie and then I like mated it a little bit with like a Rothfuss to really like
Yeah.
elevate the prose a little bit. Cause I don't know about you, Ty. I would be listening. I'm walking around the house again because it's kind of first person. There were some lines in there that I would laugh out. I could not. I would just laugh
Yeah.
out loud, and they were just like the way he would just drop one line in there. And I have to go back because I think there were some I tried to highlight because I'm like, this is what again why this is probably a 5-star um, book, but have not enjoyed. Because again, I mean, like fantasy, I'm like, you have to get me a good fantasy for me to get excited in fantasy, and it was so good. Yeah, and again, some good twists at kind of the end, and like nice climax on that. So I will double down on everything you said, Ty, about people need to read this, and I don't know how to like. In some ways, like you don't expect, like you can't even. I don't like I said.
Yeah.
I just when I dove in that first chapter, it was like, whoa, this is I have not like experienced this before.
The
and
book
then,
is a trip and a journey, and I think you
Yep.
capture. I said, you know, you hit it. I said it is like Joe Abercrombie and Pat Rothfuss combined forces to make this, and the fact that Buellman hadn't written fantasy before this, like that he has written modern horror, gothic horror, like supernatural elements, which I think you still see.
Yep.
There is some definite like almost like body horror of some of the creations of that wizard and
Yep. Oh,
the
yep.
dark like supernatural forces at work at times. But it like it's just it's up there. It's instantly in my like top 10 books of all time. Like it has a permanent place up there with Name of the Wind, with The Heroes, Best
Yep.
Served Cold, like as far as like fantasy S tier, right? If I
Yep.
had to take my whole reading
Yep.
history and do tiers, it's up top. Like
Yep.
there are very few like it.
And I don't, again, it's one, I think because, and like you said, you read everything by him, but I think there's something here to say, like, this is also a story. Like I'm not like, oh, where's the second and third book in this? Like, it's not, it is its thing. It's everything, you can I could walk away and like, that is the most amazing book I've read. I don't need the sequel. I don't need, like, he tells the story. You get through, he leaves a lot of, there's some stuff out there. The world is there, right? He doesn't tie everything up in a bow, but I think there was a lot of satisfaction as I finished that book around it's like so again, we've talked about this forever and you've talked about it a lot. I don't know, well, hopefully we recruit a few more people into this one. And then I'll switch gears a little bit on what I watched over the holidays. I got tired of all the other holiday movies. I went back and watched Die Hard. I feel like that needs to go. And then I was recommended, I don't know if you saw on Netflix, people were saying, okay, is this the new Die Hard? It was Carry On Netflix.
Haven't watched it yet.
Taron
Egerton, right?
I think so. And I don't know if it's a spoiler. Justin Bateman is also in it as if you watch the trailer, it's basically a TSA agent, and he gets through a bunch of things. He gets an earpiece, and one of the bad guys kind of like got his, he's got leverage against against them, and he needs to like get a package through the TSA line of what they're trying to do. I thought it was really good. Like the first third was pretty good, and then it got a little bit into the generic, a little more of the kind of action. If you watch it, we might have to talk about it, because I think there's a multiverse version that doesn't ever. I think it would have been interesting for the guy. Basically, for a lot of it, he's just a voice in the guy's ear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a version of this movie in a multiverse where like that's all he ever is. All he ever is like the bad guy is just a voice in his ear, and or maybe there's a reveal at the very end or something. Because I think they had something there, and it really was good. And then, like I said, it then kind of becomes more of a generic kind of action movie. It was decent, but that's what I took out of it. Is like, oh, there was something here, and they just didn't have enough guts to like buy into. Like, you could have done something really kind of edgy, I think, there, instead of kind of just doing a generic action film. But that was kind of my my Christmas movies.
I swear there was a movie that maybe it was Jake Gyllenhaal played like a 911 dispatcher in, that was very similar, where there was like a kidnapper and he was just on the phone with them for much of the movie. But yeah, and it's weird when that is kind of how that works out.
Right, because it's a different tone. Like it's set, it just, I don't know, it feels like and that's, I said, they captured some of that, and I think they didn't want to. They sold out. They were like, oh, we can't We can't go down. We can't be this edgy. We have to like kind of get back up.
Yeah.
All right, you have a bigger list than me always.
Well, so let's see. I finished Fury of the Gods January 4th. I finally picked up the book and I sat down and I said, I'm going to finish this. And I'm very glad I finished it. And I'm very happy how the series resolved. I'm very happy what they did with some of the characters. I don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah, we need to have book club after this or something. So
I was very content with the battles and the loss and the like chaos, and also the resolution of that 3-book trilogy. I think endings are hard, and I think there are some authors that really struggle with that, and that's why you see 14-book series, Robert Jordan, and others that struggle to finish, like, and take time. But John Gwynne has now proven with probably his last 2 series to be able to do that well. And that's what I'll say about Fury of the Gods. I was satisfied finishing the book. I really enjoyed it. It had nothing to do with the quality of writing, how long it took me to read, more just where I was at and how I was reading. And I go in these fits and starts with the books.
And again, Ty, you and I can do it. All I'll say is once I read it, and then I kind of immediately dug in and learned a little bit about what John Gwynne went through personally in the time. And that in some ways put the 3rd book in a whole different light for me. And I get, again, immense credit that he finished it, and it was high quality around it. Again, we'll take it offline, but again, I just want to they're knowing that he had some things in his personal life and whatever. And again, the book was a little delayed, but not at all. And I read some stuff too, again, and just in some ways how he kind of pushed to kind of get through that and get that book out. So I'm excited because I think we can have a definite offline thing, because there were some really good, there were some good moments in that book. So
absolutely. Then you've always recommended this, and I've never did it. I don't know why I waited so long, but I read over the course of like 2 days Old Man's War by John Scalzi. I then immediately ordered books 2, 3, and 4 in the series, and I'm already after a day this much through Ghost Brigade, the second book. So I don't have a good reason why I never did it. I don't read a ton of sci-fi, and when I do, it's sometimes Star Wars, sometimes, but I don't know what inspired me. I saw the paperback and I'm like, I'm going to get the paperback. It was like $9 on Amazon. And I sat down and started reading, and I was like, wow, just wow. Like, I feel like that might've been Scalzi's debut novel, which makes it even crazier how good it was. But
Old Man War is just, again, it's been a long time, but it just stays with it. It's so much fun. It's fun, but he hits, again, as Scalzi can do. And I think in that book, he might even do it more, he'll have you laughing, and then he will kind of crush your heart for a little bit. But he knows how to bring you back. And it's just a really, it's a nice ride. And it's Scalzi. So it's, I mean, he always has a fun story to tell along the way. So I'm excited. I guess I never knew that you never really had read that. So that's a good. And no, let me know, because I think once you get into some of the sequels, there might be a little bit of navigation there. On how I don't know if they're all worth reading, but I remember. So
it's an interesting world. It's an interesting concept. I mean, when you're elderly, you're given a chance to sign up for the Colonial Defense Force. The Colonial Defense Force operates off of Earth, and it basically ends your Earth life. Then when you die or are close to death, you go and join up. They clone a body, and your consciousness is transferred. So these people that have lived these years and experienced life on a near future Earth, I don't know how far, but
back when it was written, it might be now.
But there are alien species that are at war with humanity in the Colonial Defense Forces, the Clone Army, And 75-year-old John Perry has lost his wife and is off to join the Colonial Defense Force, where he becomes an infantry trooper against these alien races. And they have just some really Scalzi has some really cool bits of sci-fi. So it reads like, I don't want to say hard sci-fi, but there's some very like good description of the cloning and the consciousness and how the smart blood works and the brain pal integration, like these devices and things that make these super soldiers, like which is really cool. So enjoyed that one. I jumped right into the next one, and they're quick. The pace is really good.
Yeah.
So then I have tried a few times with this book, and I'm trying again because I saw something where Matt Mercer talked about it, and he talks about how enjoyable this book is and what a journey this book is, and that's House of Leaves. The author's name is completely escaping me right now, but House of Leaves is a very strangely constructed book. It's almost as if 4 storylines. So you have a like found footage film of a man and woman and their 2 kids that move into this new house, and the house has doors that lead to never-ending sprawling hallways. And the inside of the house is a 1/4 inch longer than the outside of the house. And the measure, so nothing makes sense, but there is this dark, foreboding like presence within these hallways and rooms. And it shows their family dynamic, but it's written as somebody who has watched this and written a story, who's an old man who died in kind of a mysterious way. But then that book is picked up by this 20-something LA partier, works as an assistant at a tattoo shop, very punk rock. But then you start to see his story through letters in the back of the book and appendices written by his mother, who's in an insane asylum. And like, so and then you have at times footnotes that go on for pages as one of them describes something in the footage, or it's an excerpt from an article, or like in the pages the text starts to shift in the footnote, like you're tracking multiple narrative streams. It's very hard to read, but it is very, very good. I think it's just a right place and right time for me to like get through it. So I'm further than I made it last time. I'm at like page 97. It's a long book too. It's like 600 pages in total. But last time I found my bookmark from the last time I stopped at like page 80, and I just never picked. I like didn't finish. First time I think I might have made it a little further, but I'm committed this time. I'm going to get through House of Leaves because Matthew Mercer says he's one of the best storytellers I've seen. So I'm gonna trust in Mercer. And then I'm listening to Of War and Ruin. It's the 3rd book in the Bound and the Broken series by Ryan Cahill. They've doubled in length almost each time. The first one was like 17 hours and 30 hours. This one's like 40 some hours. So it's sprawling epic, but there's dragons and civil war, battles against an empire, and this force of these kind of orc-like, beastmen-like creatures. So some good battle scenes, some good character development. And then I'm watching on Netflix, if you really want to feel bad, American Primeval. Peter Berg directed many of the episodes. It is 1850s Utah territory. So you have the native indigenous people, you have the U.S. cavalry, and you have the Mormon militias. And it follows multiple storylines in that time of bloody conflict between the U.S. Army and the Mormons, and the raids against people traveling through the indigenous people's lands, like the Paiutes and the Shoshone tribes. It is just brutal. There's graphic violence. There's no holding punches. But I think it's good. Nicole and I have watched like 4 of the 6 episodes. It's a limited series. I feel you'll see actors and recognize, people from other stuff. But I've always been a big Western fan in general, and this really is a fun show. It's just like, check the trigger warnings and the content warnings before you start watching, because there are some very brutal and graphic scenes of many kinds of violence and assault and other things. So it doesn't hold any punches. And then I watched season 4 of Slow Horses. So I finished that show. It's an Apple TV spy thriller drama show with Gary Oldman and others. Like season 4, Hugo Weaving played a central role as kind of the bad guy that they were trying to stop. You'll recognize some other British actors throughout, but very good show based on a series of novels about MI5, the British intelligence agency. So also recommend that. Apple TV continues, from what I've watched at least, to be very worthwhile. And then the new season of Severance just dropped, so that'll get watched in short order. I don't know, Troy, have you got an Apple TV or any?
It's funny, I literally just canceled my subscription because I've had it, and then I don't watch enough TV. And I'm like, I'm gonna find a show. Yeah, it's gonna be like, I'm kind of like, instead of having it to watch a show, I'm like, I'm gonna watch a show, I'll just subscribe and watch it. And
Yeah.
because I think I had it for like Ted Lasso way back in the day, and then Silo, I think was I started that, but I didn't
New
really
seasons out of that. Yeah.
and so there's a lot of really good shows on there that I'm like, oh, this is what I want, but I found I just wasn't using it because I just don't sit down and watch enough TV. But
it's good stuff. That, I believe, is our library.
Oof.
We are going to take a quick break, fill up beverages, grab things we need to showcase for the next segment, and come back to you to talk about our time at Midwinter Gaming Convention and a real brief Adepticon sneak peek from an event standpoint, and then maybe a few food recommendations while you're wandering the streets around the Baird Center in downtown Milwaukee. And we are back, and we're going to pretend it is 1 week ago when we were originally freshly returned from Midwinter Gaming Convention and talk about it. I think, so we were both there, Troy running games as part of the Basement of Death event operations staff. Myself, kind of trying to help Paul and Jen where I could, but not doing a great job
I
in
saw
the slow
you
vendor hall.
standing there in the vendor hall with an Anvil 8 t-shirt on. You looked professional. You looked like you had it.
I did try to help my dear friends out. But should we talk about Anvil 8 games and the big weekend at Midwinter? So the booth, the vendor hall is tough. It's not a lot of traffic, not a great layout, but they had really new cool banners with their new card game, Little Demons. So Little Demons is a classic 2 to 6 player, beautiful art by Elizabeth Wallen, a local art student at Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design, who did all of the art. But they had Little Demons for sale, the first run of the game, and had a demo table set up, 30 to 45 minutes. Just you draft your hand, you're a big demon trying to send little demons, your minions, out to take control of souls. Every round there's a new soul that might set some rule for how things happen. You are drafting these little demons. The only problem is little demons are terrible at their jobs. So many of the cards, it's about, how do I not end up with this card in the draft? Or how do I find a way to get rid of this with doing the least amount of harm to my own chances? Play goes round. After 6 turns, there's a claim phase where often it is the highest power that has been played to the soul gets to claim the soul, and the winner is the first to claim 3 souls. So very, very fun. Very like, the names are fun. The art is fun. The demons, some of them are just awesome, how they came to be. Some of the flavor text is okay.
So I think you might have wrote some of the flavor text, Ty.
I did write some of it, and that's why I said some of it's okay, because what Paul and Jen cleaned up and did their own is much better than my contributions. Except for the dad. The dad little demon is my best bit of writing work ever, because the flavor text, Troy, is hi hungry, I'm dad. So
Yes.
the dad demon, you have to tell a dad joke, and if any big demon
Yeah.
laughs, you gain power. So why not make the flavor text a punchline and not a joke itself?
Yeah. So Ty, thank you. Ty bought me. I love this game. I got the chance to play test it and see it in some of the prototype forms along the way. And I was intrigued by the idea. And even when it started, I'm like, this is really going to be, I think the art is going to be key. And the, again, Elizabeth, that they got to do the art was, I think, right spot on. It's amazing. And so Ty, thank you. Ty bought it, like it was there. And all of a sudden Ty handed me one. He's like, here you go. Merry Christmas. Happy birthday, all that stuff. And then Ty, I do have to tell you so I need another copy.
All right.
So I'm gonna have to buy one because my daughter immediately. So I had shown Sarah some of the art, like Pyro and some of the things, and she was kind of there. So she's playing Little Demons kind of like she plays Pokemon, which means she thinks it's a collectible card. Like, so she took the cards all out. They are in her room. She basically took a pile. She has all the ones that she thinks she has her favorites. So she might need, so maybe, I don't know, Ty, you might be hurt because you might be, oh, and these are none of the ones I wrote, but I think there were a few of them in there because I think the dad one's in there. So she basically has the cards out. She went through all of them, and she's got her like 24 that she thinks are her favorites. And she literally just looks at the art. So it's really cool. She reads the flavor text and laughs and yeah. And so I got it. And so now, yeah, so she's waiting for the next release. Like she wants the next card pack to come out because that's how she is going to interact with the game. And I need another copy because I don't know that I'm getting my cards back around some of that. So, but yeah, again, the art is, I love the art too. It's amazing. And yeah, they are pretty fun. They are funny. Like some of those cards are
maybe
they're very funny.
I just pinged Paul and I said, hey, would it be possible to score Elizabeth signed copy of Little Demons for Troy's daughter? So when you know the designer and the owner,
yeah,
maybe then we can be like, hey, Sarah, here's.
Yeah.
Because I bet Elizabeth would think that's pretty awesome that a young girl has become so enamored with her game.
Yeah. Oh,
is that sometimes how it starts is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pyro is her favorite, like that Above and Beyond, like the art for the Pyro card is like
which is the cover demon Pyro.
Yeah. And can you open it up, Ty, for people on the video? I find, I'm sorry, this is like I get entertained by little things. And
you mean that the inside of the box has has art?
Yeah. That.
So I actually when
Jen showed me that, I started laughing. Yeah, I like. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was fun to actually demo it for a few folks to see some copies get released into the wild, and just a lot of fun to see it get done. And I'm like, I've play tested stuff and I've helped with some development on things, but never have I really been as close to a project as kind of seeing some of this stuff from Anvil 8 with what Paul and Jen have been working on. But Little Demons was super cool to play test, to help do a little bit of writing on and development stuff. And then the biggest thing to come out of Anvil 8 Games is the successful backer kit and publishing of real books that I can hold in my hand and like show the camera for people watching, of Unknown Worlds and the Victorian Horror Field Journal and my personal favorite, Small Town Magic. And I don't want to do a disservice to everyone out there, but Drive Through RPG, you can find these. the PDFs and print on demand. I will also reach out if there's a way to get copies to people that might be interested and listen. But the classic, just the design and like little inserts of arts and photos. It has that like a found journal. So Clementine Finley is the journalist of this. She's a keeper that recorded, the small town magic in Shipwreck Bay, which is kind of the contained town that you could set your game in. I would also direct any interested party to one of the NPCs available in Shipwreck Bay to add to your games, and that is Blair Larson. He is an avowed keeper, second tier, which he has his own page and described, which is really fun to see someone. It's the only NPC that has an entire page dedicated as a keeper.
Ty,
with,
you
with
need
stats
you need to highlight a character you didn't write.
I didn't write. Paul wrote this, but
it's
Paul wrote
based
it
on
about
your characters.
It is based on my mage character, and I did put in the backer kit to get a character in the book. So I did, and it's there. But it's just it's a really cool book. Drawings, photos, the layout. It has a very lined. Even the pages have, when you look at it from the side, the small town magic has like the college ruled lines on the edge of the page, which is something that I hadn't even noticed. The first time or two I opened it, and then I was like, oh wow, yeah, it's like things have been clipped into a college ruled kind of composition notebook. I can't talk enough about it. It's just awesome to see it in hand, to read. Like Paul and Jen should be so incredibly proud of bringing this forward.
Yeah.
There is a long list of people that helped get this there, consulted on this, provided development, but really, really awesome just to like get to the table and like hold the book and open it and read it, and get copies. So very, very proud. We'll talk more perhaps in another format about the game. We've interviewed Paul and Jen as they led up to their backer kit. If you look back, handful of episodes to, I think, right around October. Very worth listening to learn more about the game. But that was awesome to see the first copies in the wild. Paul Ransom Games get a couple copies out into the world. And now the backer kit, I think shipping is ongoing. Things are going out. And it'll be something that continues as they look ahead to the roadmap. Cozy Quest, the third field journal, is due out in, I believe, April, along with a book of powers to add into your games, and kind of a backer kit reward. So Unknown Worlds and Little Demons, it was new release day at Anvil 8 Games. But this, I remember Paul starting to talk about this when it was thought to be Pillars back in 2018, when he was working on the Ethereum RPG with Aaron and had some ideas about what he wanted to do and kind of his own game. And then to see it evolve and go through revision after revision and change and play test groups for so long was truly awesome. So they also have Unknown Stories, set in small town magic, collection of short stories by friends of theirs from grad school that are published authors in their own rights. Many of them are published in different genres. Poets. Jen herself contributed a story. Paul contributed a story, and then our group has a individual, Ben, who I think I've talked about probably when I talked about Mage, but Ben edited the short story collection, and it's pretty fun. I've read a few of the stories. I haven't finished them all, but it's I guess I would call it urban or small town fantasy, which is always a genre I enjoy. So thoughts on what you saw at the Anvil Lake Games booth?
I saw real books and cards. So yeah, again, I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time in the vendor hall, but I did stop by and chat a little bit on Sunday. But it was really cool to see those books in real life to get there. And again, I'm overly excited about Little Demons. I don't know why, but I just find it such a cool little project, and I get a smile on my face every time I see the cards or look at them, or when we have played the game, which is fun.
And it's small enough, and it's like lightweight enough to just throw it in your backpack and sit down and literally can teach it and play it in 30-40 minutes. Like,
and again, you don't care who wins. It's just you're having a experience.
You're seeing chaos.
It's great.
All right. Also, speaking of Elizabeth Wallen and the artist for Little Demons, her uncle is Eric from Mana Oasis. So Mana Oasis is a charity organization that connects kind of trauma-based gaming, so trauma-informed gaming. Many veterans attached to the group, but they provide a space in which you can kind of work together to overcome obstacles and be very mindful of the impact of PTSD and other mental health issues on individuals, and how gaming can be a way to form a community and find a way to truly, we've talked about games can be therapy, but Mana Oasis has kind of taken that and made that their mission. But Eric, who I believe is the current director or one of the guys organizing Mana Oasis, was Elizabeth's uncle, and introduced, I think, Paul to Elizabeth originally. So it was kind of cool. He came over and he's like, "Yeah, my niece did the art." But a cool group. It would be fun to continue, talking with them and find some opportunities to game with them. But one of their guys, his name's escaping me, but played in
Patrick. I believe Patrick played in. I was just going to say that played in MCP on Friday night with us. It was good. It was great. Yeah, I had not kind of heard of that organization, so I was intrigued and heard some of the stories and what they're doing. I think they're doing some great stuff up there. Inspired. I think we can, again, it's gonna be on our radar. I think if there's something we can do, we talked a little bit, again, casually, no real thing, but I think we have context now, like you said, and if there's something we can do, or we can come up there and help run a game or do something else, it just feels, it would be awesome. So, and again, we've talked about, maybe it might be get one of those guys on here to talk a little bit more about what they're doing. Cause I find it really interesting. Again, and about how they're helping through some of that stuff. Because I think, and was it Patrick or somebody else who told us, or somebody who said they were getting involved, or maybe it was something else, or maybe it was reading on their website, was that right? Was the 22, I think, is the number, right? Or that is the amount of servicemen that take their lives every day. And I think one of them just said that was their inspiration for doing, like, how can I do something, right? And this is their way to help battle those guys that have their demons and everything else coming back. So really cool. Great organization. Think they're doing great work. And if hopefully we can find a way that if we can help them in any way, I think we're going to figure it out. So
absolutely. Yeah. Eric Wagner is Ben Darnell and Dylan Starks all are engaged. And if you go to their website, manaoasis.com, you can see a little bit more too about their mission statement, what they're doing, how you can support them. And they hold different events. But if you're certainly in that veteran or first responder community, as I know many of our gaming friends are, definitely, I think it's a really great group of guys with an incredible mission that is worth checking out. And
their headquarters is located, I don't know, like an hour-ish out of Milwaukee, a little less, kind of toward, if you're familiar at all here, a little bit towards the Beaver Dam area. if I'm getting my directions right.
Yeah,
from
Juneau, Wisconsin. Yep.
Yeah, if you look on their website there. So kind of again within reach of the Milwaukee metro area. So
let's see. Other booth that I saw in brief conversation I had was with. It's gonna bug me. I think it was. I have his card somewhere. I swear I did. Man, I'm terrible at this. Phoenix Con is a game convention up in Appleton, so very close to Bryce. That's held in August. It's often mid-August. I think it's like the 15th through 17th at the Hilton in downtown Appleton. And thought it was pretty cool, but it seems to be, it's a Wednesday through Sunday. It's all at the hotel, downtown Appleton Hilton. I don't know how big that can be, but badges, if you think about a 4-day is $60, special guests, bunch of games, Arpex, Chimera Hobbies, which is based in Appleton, I think is one of their sponsors. There's some video games, mini arcade, mini golf, open gaming, all sorts of stuff geared to family and kids as well. Bourbon tasting, just a lot of various interesting things. And that might be one that, at least as a day trip, I try to get up to and just check out, since that's right down the road from our friend and co-host Bryce, up in his home neck of the woods. So thought I would share that as well. But he had a booth going all day. He came by the other vendors and dropped off some candy. He had a little plate of candy, which got me talking to him about it. Sounded pretty cool. So,
Ty, would you strangers with candy? No, you're never like warned. No.
Yeah, I mean, I've thrown a lot of the things that I've been told out and kind of re-educated myself. But yeah, I don't know many of the details other than the dates. I would imagine that registration, but phoenixgamecon.com, you can actually, badges are pending, ticket sales are pending, but the dates are set, and it's at the Hilton, Appleton, Paper Valley, August 13th through the 17th. Anything else you saw there that was vendors, tables? I think there was some cool art, crafters.
There's some cool art. Again, the bad part of running games for 12 hours a day.
You missed the vendor hall.
You don't do a lot of shopping. I did do a couple passes. I think I bought some Marvel's Crisis Protocol stuff from somebody. I talked to the woman who I talked to at Dragonfall that does some RPG, like does one-page RPG stuff. I think I talked about that when I was at Dragonfall, so I just said hi to her. And I'm trying to think if there's any other. I don't know if there was any. And then I would always get stuck by the Anvil 8 booth and talking to Jen or whoever was there. So
yeah, nothing wrong with that. So you did say you spent a lot of time running games. What did the BoD have on offer?
Sure. So we'll talk about. So we kind of this year. I just said, and I got to thank. I think it's Ann that runs all the stuff at Midwinter.
Ann Holmes. Yep.
Yeah. I just said, hey, can we just give us a table for Friday and Saturday? Ideally, keep us in one spot, and we will schedule events on there for 2 days, and that's what we did. So we ran Zombicide Black Plague on Friday morning, Friday afternoon. Morning being like whatever 10 a.m. right? There's no real morning at a convention. Although I think they were running games at 8. I think it might have been a little light for people who are trying to start games at 8 is what I heard. Those weren't usually full. So we ran Black Plague, and this is I've talked about before, the scenario we do with Hagglethorn Hollow terrain, which looks really good. And I enjoy it. There's something about that terrain, and it's just, your non-standard Zombicide Black Plague. You have to get in there and kind of, you're really immersed in the things there. I have a blast every time. It's a pretty kind of straightforward, nice con scenario. It seems like people have fun with it, and we had a great group. Again, I met so many cool people at this convention. I was just like totally energized. I think I told you, Ty, just like I met so many cool people, whether it was the Man Oasis guy. And what was cool is like I'd meet him and then they would like come and a lot of people were in our game. And I think Brett, who is I think he runs a lot with like Little Wars and then the Historical Miniature Gaming Society and things like that. And he was there and he ended up playing in a couple of games that we ran. It was great to just meet and chat with him on and over the weekend. So we ran Black Plague twice. And then in the evening, Josh came and we had the crowning. We did a Marvel Crisis Protocol event for both Friday night and Saturday night. On Friday night, we ran the Thanos one that we've talked about where Josh cheats and beats up people, takes all their fun away. And he did it again on Friday where the Thanos with his Infinity Gauntlet, of course, won the day. I think they had him beat. They had him turned over. They had him damage.
He did Master Mold one night, right?
And then he did. We had a Master Mold on Saturday. But yeah, Thanos. He made everybody feel bad and cry.
He did, including Paul and Jen.
Yeah, Paul and Jen came over. They're like, "Oh, we have time to play," and Josh crushed their hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
We are being a little facetious. I think people had fun. Josh did. I think they did Thanos did end up winning, but we always tell people that is a hard scenario. But that was fun. Should we give Josh a hard time about having to drive back home? What do you think? Is that going to make the cut? Should I edit this part out, or we'll leave that in?
I think that since
he's not here to defend himself,
we have to be a little lenient. What I will tell you is that the game started a little bit late and we had to help with explaining rules and kind of entertaining the table before he got there. But it's a good thing that we're such good friends who not only mention our friend and co-host, but don't throw him under the bus.
No, not at all.
About having everything you need to run an incredible game.
Yeah, well, we recovered. We did good. And like I said, we were like a warm-up act. Yeah, we came, we warmed up the crowd, got people going, and then he dove right in and did that. So that was Friday night. Saturday, we came back with Zombicide in Invader, which is the sci-fi one. Again, we ran the scenario that we run there with all the 3D print. Looks really cool. We think it's a really nice scenario that creates some good cinematic, always creates some good moments of gonna die and things like that. And we had again another really good group of people. I think we've always mentioned Leo. I think it's Leo Sullivan, who we at a lot of our local, he's another local guy here, and we see him at a lot of local conventions. I think Leo always does a good job of taking pictures and and posting stuff. So I get more of my pictures because I never have time to never remember to take my camera out. But he does a good job of getting the table warmed up around that. Max played also. They did that. So they had a lot of fun with the game there. So it was cool to have, again, people that we new friends, old friends, doing some of that. And then, as you said, Ty, Saturday night, Josh appeared again with all his stuff for the new Master Mold scenario that he's kind of built up, kind of based on ones, but he's built that one up from scratch. Ty did amazing work on painting up the terrain for that. And Josh has been doing like the actual Master Mold little 3D print model with his LED eyes, and he had that was the first time we had actually, because we had done some play testing with it, but we were kind of had some stand-in for some of the models and things. So seeing it all laid out was pretty cool. And then we ended up, and then Arthur, who I work with, actually was in our game that night because he was also there playing board. He plays a lot of board games and things like that. But he was like, "Oh, I got to get in one of your games," and he was able to get in the Marvel Crisis Protocol one to do. To play, and he's not a miniature gamer at all, so hopefully he said he had some fun when I talked to him, so it was good. Cool. And it was good, and it was a good. I think that one, and maybe Josh felt bad, but they beat up Master Mold pretty well. We even kind of tweaked it a little bit to make Master Mold a little tougher because he was getting beat up kind of early. Sabretooth did work. He did a lot of work early, and had Master Mold on his back heels. Pretty quick on that one too. So I think, I mean, Josh has we may tweak a little things to kind of fine tune that one, but
Yeah.
again, for a con scenario, you don't want it to be too difficult or anything else like that. And it feels like there's a couple of things. Again, it definitely can swing both ways because you have the sentinels that are walking around that can be, if you let those get out of hand, then you're going to have a much harder time against Master Mold. And so, John and I were playing too. So I think we also knew a little bit of what what we were going to kind of dig for that. And I can't remember one of the Man Oasis guys was playing in that. And I can't remember his name either. I apologize for that one. But again, it was a fun, letting out people. Was a little exhausting. It was good warm up for Adepticon because you forget running 12 hours a game. And I wasn't, for the MCP, I was just more of like a helper. Josh did most of the heavy lifting there, and John was a little bit of his second lieutenant for some of them too. So I wasn't doing a whole lot. So I was kind of doing 2.5 events. But even then I was definitely feeling like, oh, you got to pace yourself on this. And I didn't do a good job of my food on Friday, I noticed, and that you got to eat. Remember to eat. It's all the common things, right? It's amazing if you have food in your body, how much you can work a little more.
Food, caffeine,
a
shower,
water,
and at least 6 hours of sleep.
And some
will
sleep.
Get you a long ways to con ready.
Yeah, because I was actually, it was funny. I was in a lot better shape on Saturday than I was on Friday, I think, because I did a little better job of pacing myself and making sure I actually ate lunch and things like that. So
yeah,
it was good. So, but that was our events that we did. And then again, a lot of fun. If anybody, again, thanks everybody that came out. It's always energizing to just talk with people. And again, like we said, I think we, some of those people like Brett and Leo and Max and whatever, that I think we had more, conversations after and around events that we did during events too. So it was awesome. And then Ty, I think you guys had one big like crowning event on Saturday night, right? So
yeah, so we did get a little Demons play in Friday night with the developers after MCP. So Josh and John, yourself, me, Jen, and Paul sat and dealt out a game of Little Demons and played at least part of a game as a nightcap to get that played. So that was kind of the post MCP fun.
Yeah. So you know what, I am jaded in that, like, I think there are rules for the game in the box, but I have no idea because I've always played with Paul, so it makes it a little easier.
I think your 2 games have been with the designer, so
right, and it's kind of easy. Like any question at all you have, there are no questions.
Kind of like playing Frontline No Comrades back in the day with Post-it Note and Will Conway at Brian's kitchen table. So
hey, and I think I told you, like, I remember we played. I don't know if I've told a story I did many years ago, probably. We played it at work, and I literally had Will on a text stream to answer questions mid-game. He was nice enough to respond to me in the middle of the day because I'm like, wait, let me see if I can get an answer on this. And so it's amazing. It goes so much smoother when you can get your rules questions answered immediately. So
absolutely. So then Paul said, and I wasn't sure exactly how it would work out because the original plan was that Nicole and Landon would be at the Country Springs, the Ingleside, the hotel where it is, has a water park and swim. But they came and they walked around, they hung out, and Landon decided, I don't really want to swim. It's kind of busy. I don't want to do this. So they ended up just calling it a day and going home. So I had Saturday night open. I felt like I was dying. I was on the tail end of what ended up being like a 10-day long illness. And then reinvigorated itself and came back after a con. Big surprise. So Paul, though, said, I got tickets for a mage game. So Jen and Paul, their son Quinn, their oldest, plays in a lot of LARPs with Cerberus Interactive. They do some online play via Discord, of various storyteller games. So Vampire, Mage, and Cerberus Interactive Media creates these develop, customize, and create LARP and immersive interactive experiences. So last year they had a couple of LARPs running at Midwinter. This year they had some sign up short. They just didn't have enough to make it happen. So what a few games ran instead, like Werewolf, Mage, Vampire, as tabletop rather than LARP. So Quinn plays with Jonathan, I think, in some of the LARPs, or in some of the games, and Jonathan had written this module for Mage, and the party wakes up on a bus on the way to some coal mining town in West Virginia. You don't know exactly why you started going this, but each player is given a secret before it starts that you know, and a character background based on a tarot card. So you have the tarot, your character background, and a secret. And you're all trying to figure out why you're here and what is drawing you to this place, this coal mining town in the hollers of West Virginia. And you kind of get to know the others on the party, getting off the bus, figuring where you are. But it's not often that a forever GM like Paul gets to play in a game. So that's why I always enjoy when he plays in our D&D games. But getting to play Mage with Paul and Jen and my brother Tom, who came, so the four of us with two others that have played in the LARPs and other stuff. So we had a great table.
Yeah, I walked by that table and I'm like, it looked like, I'm like, oh, wait, they just took their home game and they brought it to the con and they hired a GM. That was
the role playing was solid. Everybody did a great job. There was a lot of good in character discussion and motivations and figuring out what's going on, and people playing to the secrets and the moments. And there was tense climax of the action where everybody was just like, you get that. And it doesn't happen often, but sometimes you're at an RPG table where you just get that actual feeling of like tension, stress, relief, whatever, emotional response. And Jonathan, the storyteller, did a fantastic job. So CerberusInteractiveMedia.com, you can see it looks like a lot of their stuff had been keyed up for Midwinter, but some of their other stuff and contact information, if you get a chance to game with any of them, highly recommend. I had a fantastic experience playing that module and enjoying that story. And I think we wrapped up. I mean, we started at 7 and went till about just after midnight. It was like 12:15, 12:30. So we ran a little long. Yep. We moved tables when the boardrooms were going to close at midnight. We finished in the foyer area where you guys had been playing MCP.
Yeah.
But it brought a few drinks to the table and just had a really great time playing Mage. It was a great kind of nightcap to the last night. Had a chance to eat dinner with Paul. So Paul and Tom and I grabbed a quick dinner, had some good conversation, as is always the case, and then got to play a really, really fun game. All right. This episode, we thought it was going to be short, Troy. We're running like 3 hours deep. It feels like. But
I told you. I said there's only two of us. It'll be short. We don't have that much to cover.
No, we're good at talking
famous last words.
Because we're now at the second half of our main topic.
And maybe we just wrap Midwinter. Again, really, I hope we can continue that convention. It's really, I think hopefully they're getting some legs under them. Last year, if you remember, it was the middle of a snowstorm. There was a lot of challenges there. This is as a second year in this new location. Seems like they're getting their legs under them. Was pretty good. I mean, stuff still just the way the hotel's laid out, things get kind of laid out. But we were a little bit separate from like the board game hall or whatever. But you're not that. I mean, that hotel's not that big. Like you're not. I mean, I didn't feel like we were. we were that away. Like, I think there's some things like, could they make the vendor area a little more, I don't know what it is, accessible or something, there's some tweaks there, but like I said, the vibe I got was just so positive, such great people. Everybody there was there to game and there to like hang out, and just met so many cool people that I walked away just with kind of a, I don't know, it like just felt like my heart was full of just like, hey, this is awesome, this is why we do these things. Even though I was a little tired, there was so much positive energy I took about around that. It's like, oh, that's why we do these things, and get to hang out and things like that. And it was great. And again, Paul and Jen and Quinn, Matt, everybody that I mentioned, like, it was just great. And all the guys we met from Man Oasis, and it just, I don't know what it was. I walked away and I'm like, this is awesome. This is why we game and why we get out of our basement every once in a while, right? And meet people. So yeah, we hope the best again. Hope Midwinter again. Hopefully Ann gives a little bit of the how things went and whatever, and figure out what we can do to keep supporting that event and hopefully keep it growing and healthy, so that it can continue, because it's kind of awesome. And I can't, literally it's 5 minutes away from my house, so I'm going to do everything I can to keep it alive. So.
Absolutely. All right. Adepticon event registration happened Sunday of Midwinter.
Yeah, sure.
So it was okay. Before we talk about what BoD is doing, I need to provide some commentary and feedback. I'm going to keep it constructive, because we do have some very good relationships with Adepticon. They have hit the point of their convention where I think they just need to do a better job with the housing registration portal, the event sign up portal, and supporting the traffic that they can anticipate. And how they do that, if it's a lottery, if it's a waiting room, I don't know. I'm not an internet logistics guy, but the experience of logging on, trying, as somebody who is also running a few games, trying to get into games, was incredibly frustrating. To instantly the site went down, like instantly. And it's happened a few times now, and they've said they redid the event reg. They try to show you the right way to do it. It's not working, and it needs to get better. I think that's as positive I can spin the first 15 minutes of event registration. And then after that, whatever got through went smooth. Most everything you wanted was gone. Because I also would be interested in how many slots of events there are versus attendees to register. It felt like there was a shortage of for what should have been a plethora of events. It felt like they're going through maybe a little.
Yeah, well, I think you have you're right. Like you're saying, you're kind of in the Gen Con, you're almost in the Gen Con Origins kind of world, right? And it's interesting to see because there are, I don't even know what it is, right? This year Matt would know the real numbers. The number of events is much more than there ever has been. But like you said, we've also grown. The attendees have also grown, maybe even more. I don't know, right? I think to figure out kind of that math. And again, I think, I'm sure Adepticon would say, like, it's their responsibility in the end. You can't. I think they've had their registration vendor, let them down like 2 years in a row. And last year they were like, oh, we had some global outage, and that happened to be at the same time. This year they told them they guaranteed, they're like, oh yeah, we're going to scale it out and whatever, and they failed, right? And again, you can't, I was being in that situation, I can't blame, in my normal job, I can't blame one of my vendors, right? It's our clients, right? You gotta, so I think the same thing, Adepticon has to take responsibility that, you can do everything you can, but you still have to take the responsibility there. So it'll be interesting. Yeah. And on the, do you do some kind of, I don't know, right? We've gone through the Gen Con thing,
shopping
too,
cart waitlisting. I don't.
I don't. Right.
Process. I don't know what the right fit is.
Yeah.
But that that 15 minutes of just
well, and it would be, and it's funny, like as you say, there's the perception when the site wasn't active, right? I think that also just gives you even a worse, because I don't know that it would have been any different, right? Like even if the site went up, there were too many people, there were so many people and so few events that you literally could have ended up in the exact same place you did, Ty, right? You could have went in and everything could have been gone, right? As you were saying, it could have been gone. But the fact that you didn't even feel like you got a fair shot, I think makes it feel right. It makes it feel worse, like in some ways, because I think there is like in again, I always do the multiverse, right? There is a world where the site stayed up and you would end up in exactly the same place.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
But you would have had a slightly different perspective. Not a huge, but I think you would have had a slightly different, because you would have felt like, oh, I at least got, I had my chance to try and get events, and it was more of a pure events versus people. Whereas this, it feels a little unfair, and like somebody got in, or at least maybe somebody got in. I think nobody got in for a little bit. And it was just like, who were the front? It was more like instead of it being 12 o'clock, it was who were the first people that could get in when the site started to come back up at 12:07 or something else like that, then jumped in right around something, which was interesting. So, yeah, I mean, we're probably going too far down, but I think that said, I think there is some, right, the whole process, right? It's not just the 4 days that you're at Adepticon. There's the experience you're having, like you said, when you're doing housing, when you're doing it's that whole thing. People are spending significant time and money to do it, and you want to try as much as you can. How do you make that a smooth experience all the way through for people? And again, we've had the same similar complaints and things like that as Gen Con has grown, and and some of that. And I think we're a little closer to some of the stuff at Adepticon. How can we help maybe change, steer the boat a little differently than what the people at Gen Con have done?
I did, and I am sharing this because I think it's funny. In the Adepticon thread on our Discord, I did say that I'm changing my event, so I'm running an RPG 2 sessions, and it's just going to be 3 hours of trolling the sign up process. So I said, listen, you walk into the room, there's a guy in a red Adepticon t-shirt. He instructs you to log into your system at noon to receive your orders. You'll wait there for 20 minutes and realize your shuttle has already left for the mission. That's it. Thanks for playing. Good luck signing up next year. And I will turn my table loose after that 20-minute waiting period. Now, will I do that? No. Do I think that would be an incredible thing to witness? Absolutely. I absolutely think if I'm wearing a red Adepticon shirt at the table and I tell you you've registered for my event, and it is the Imperial bureaucracy simulation, and I just wait and see how long until these people, as I sit silently at the table, like I think there's a world in which that happens, and it's brilliant.
Oh, yeah, it was good. Yeah,
but we're running a lot of events. So speaking of total slots and hours, I don't know if you've done the calculation, but when I think about the number of games and the 4 days and the slots, it's probably over 100 plus hours. It's probably closer to 200 plus hours of like gaming time that the BoD is running events. So I don't know. I don't think we need to lay out the whole schedule, but we are doing much of what we often talk about: Zombicide of multiple flavors, Black Plague, and Invader. Marvel Crisis Protocol, the Thanos and the Master Mold scenarios. There will be Space Hulk 5. I forget how many.
5 slots. I think I have 5 real slots. Yeah.
Yep. Have you been commissioned for multiple friends and family outside of the BoD?
We are
night.
Maybe I don't know if I'm willing. I don't know if I'm willing to say it. We're doing some things there, and we will probably have some. If we'll have to see if everyone's playing Trench Crusade, but I think we can still probably get some people to play Friends and Family Space Hulk too.
Yeah, I would imagine.
So I need to put tickets out for that. Maybe that's what I need to do. I need to say tickets are going live on noon. I'll put a blank web page up. That'll be
404 error, site not found. And then what got me the most angry, Troy, is it gave the error message that says it appears you are offline.
Yeah, right. It's like it just to like blame it on you, right?
And I was like, I can most certainly guarantee I am not offline. And every other web page I'm trying to go to and Discord server I'm on is working. This is a you problem, Adepticon, not a me problem.
I did feel for you, Ty, at the time, because I'm also like, Ty is coming off of Midwinter. He said no sleep. I also know he's not 100% healthy. And he's had I did feel for you because I felt like that was throwing a little bit of fire or gasoline on the fire because you were having a bad experience and you were not having you were not in your 100% mode at the moment either. So that was
yeah, it was interesting. Well, I mean, hopefully it improves, but we're running a bunch of miniature gaming stuff. I'm also running the RPG, the real RPG, for 2 3-hour slots, one Thursday afternoon, one Friday afternoon. And I think all of these hundreds of hours of games and seats sold out in like 6 minutes.
Yeah, there was there was a little. It's funny, like because
something releases and like
something will release because somebody will get it, and then the way the wait list works now. Because I did have a couple of people email me about because what they in the past, I think I've joked because Matt kind of joked with me. He's like, "You guys have like the longest wait list that there is for any event on the Space Hulk." So now they actually cap the wait list. Like I don't know what it is, what the cap is. So there are some events where you go on, you can't even get on the wait list, and what that means is the wait list is full, and I don't know what it is if they're laying 20 people on, 10 people on, what they did. But then if a ticket releases, then sometimes also you'll see a ticket like, oh, this event has a free ticket, but I can't buy the ticket. Well, the reason is because it's actually kind of goes through it falls through the wait list. The wait list people have to kind of like, what does he call it? It's like when you're on waivers, I think. Like it has to go through the wait list, and then if nobody claims that, I don't know what that time is. I think they have so much time on the wait list to claim it. And then if it passes waivers, then it goes into the free farm. So I know some people have emailed me mostly about, hey, can I get on the wait list? And I'm like, well, if you can't get on the wait list, that just means the wait list is full around some of that stuff. So a little around that but we are, again, I don't know that there's any spots. That said, I'm always like, if you're bound and determined to try and get into some of this stuff, all I can say is come early to some of the slot if you have time. Again, if you're not committed to something else, come early, hang out, because a lot of times people that are on the wait list don't come and wait because they have done something else. And if we do have a spot, we're happy to try and get you in if we can. I think we last year I think we only got one. We only got one person in, I think, of the day. But again, as we run these other events, I would expect the same. That things happen, people, whatever, they don't show up. And if you have the time and you're willing to kind of just show up early, say I'm here, I'm interested. Again, if somebody on the wait list is there, they would bump you, or if somebody with the ticket could end up bumping you. But we do get people in that way because things happen, people don't show up to get in. So that's the way to do it. And again, I do that for our events are a little different in that they're, not as many spots, but even if there's tournaments and things like that you see that are there, almost all those, if you get on the wait list, show up early. I've never, again, back in the day when I played more stuff, you almost always can get in to a tournament if you kind of show up early and say, hey, I'm here if you have a spot open, because especially on an event where it has 20, 30 people, life happens and somebody doesn't show up. It's like a wedding. Like you just assume 10% of the people aren't going to show up at something.
Right. Or oversleep or
right. Yeah. And
over.
Again, and maybe I know we're going to go a little bit, Ty, but maybe because I think we'll say it early and often. Because we'll see of the whatever couple hundred people who listen to us, and the 10 of those people that actually go to Adepticon, you're going to the Baird Center. The Baird Center is bigger. The Baird Center is also a secured facility. What means is it's going to have, it's kind of like going into a stadium. You're going to get metal detector. I don't know how much of what they're going to do for bag check or something else like that, but you're going to have security that you're going to have to go through to get in and out of the Baird Center proper, even if you're coming from a hotel or other things like that. Give yourself more time than you ever have done before. And also for both those things. One, there's the security. So in the morning when everybody's trying to get into the championship, whenever, just expect that there's going to, you got to back yourself up 30 minutes probably from what you think you need around that. I know some of the event organizers are also kind of take that into consideration. So they're going to probably try and have a little bit more wiggle room because they know it may take a little longer for people to get there. But that said, again, if they want to start their event at 8 and they're able to start till 8:30, that, how that does, that just snowballs and then things get whatever. So I think we're trying to get the message out, get there. That said, too, the Baird Center is big. If you're coming from the Hilton, you're a block and a half. No, you're 2 blocks away from, if your event is on the north side of the Baird Center.
And
you're 2 blocks away.
Downtown city blocks, not
right.
Like,
It's not like the Renaissance, like, oh, I'm in my hotel. Like literally like the Renaissance, right? I could get my hotel. Sometimes the elevator was busy a little bit, right? I could be in my hotel room, jump in the elevator, be down in the hall in less than 10 minutes, right? To my event, right? I get up, shower, whatever. Here, if you're in one of the connected hotels, you're probably more than 30 minutes away from wherever your event is. Like, I don't care where you are. That's probably not even enough, right? Around that. So I think there's, So I think, again, this first year too, we're all going to be learning. We're all going to be figuring it out. And I don't know. I think that's going to, again, trying to get people, there'll be people who have bad experiences because they just they're not prepared for that. They're not going to be thinking about it. Just the amount of time. It's almost, it's kind of like if you've been in if you start to go to a Gen Con and Origins, one of these bigger conventions, even if it's like, hey, I'm downtown, you're still 40 minutes away from wherever it is you need to be to play your event. And you just have to take that in consideration as you go down. So I think I'm just trying to get that message out early, often. Because even us as trying to run events, we're going to have to kind of even back up our schedule and make sure, how do we get there, get things set up, make sure we have enough time to get things going and things like that. So it'll be like, we have all the good coming with a new location. And then I think it's all this learning we're going to have to do as a group too. So.
Absolutely. After that, public service announcement. The one thing I think we did promise is that we will reveal a little bit of the secrets of downtown Milwaukee for a good spot. And I'm going to do 3 things. And I think the best things we often do are just spontaneous, Troy. Yep. So I'm going to ask you for 3 recommendations. One is a hidden gem for dining. One is a hidden gem for grabbing a beer. And the other is a hidden gem for something on the scavenger hunt of downtown Milwaukee within 5 blocks of the Baird Center that's worth just seeing because it's a fun, iconic Milwaukee thing. So dining, a beer or a drink, and then a Milwaukee scavenger hunt thing. Do you want me to give mine to give you time to think, or do you feel like you can?
I can. So I'm going to do my hidden gem in case it's yours around that. And it's funny. We actually used this with Terrace this summer or whatever. We were down there. So it's a little bit, I think it's 4 blocks away. But definitely within walking distance is the Swinging Door bar restaurant. So it's a little bit of both, but they actually have pretty good food there.
Swinging Door Saloon and Eatery. Swinging Door Exchange, right?
Exchange is, it's down on Michigan Avenue, again, about 4 blocks away. Again, if the weather, hopefully March in Milwaukee is always a kind of a crapshoot, but
you can do 90% of the walk indoors through the skywalk.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you can walk through the skywalk and then jump out as you cross the river. Or you can walk across the river?
You can walk into the Chase building and over the river.
Over the river, and Yep.
and then
Oh,
go
then maybe
down
that's our trick. Like,
kitty
I don't
corner.
know.
Yeah.
Do we have? I've never seen it. Do we have a good Skywalk Milwaukee map? I don't know. We might have to point people in that direction if they don't
We
have
can
that.
show
Yep.
people.
Yep. That's a good, because I always forget about that. That we can.
It connects roughly the Baird Center to the river.
Yep.
Connected skywalks. Even the Drury Plaza Hotel you can get to through, which is 5-ish blocks away on the other side of the river. So,
yep. We're not Minneapolis, but
No.
there are a few. You can get some good in this area. Get indoor. But so I'm gonna go. Yeah, swinging door. You can get, like Ty said, you could get indoors, but even outdoor, it's not that far away.
if you go to the swinging door, expect between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock, it's going to be crazy busy. There will be a wait during the weekdays.
Yeah.
The weekend, a little different. Forget Saturdays are a little different, but
Right.
workday downtown, it is a hot spot for work lunches. So from about 11 until about 1, there will be about a 10-15 minute wait for a table, and the place is packed. It's not huge, so
it's a small. It's a little, like, I
order
don't say
your
hole in the wall, but it's a little
it's
nice
just a
it's
smaller,
a cool, and it's a cool little bar.
and it's been open forever. It's great food. Get the crunchy chicken sandwich. You will not be disappointed. It is the best sandwich that I've had at the swinging door, and it is my standard once a month when I go there for lunch with a buddy. That's what I get. I never change it up. So your food is swinging door. Then that was my 1B. I had 1A and I have 1B. So my 1A is just about 2 blocks north of the swinging door on Water Street. So this is about 5 blocks from the Baird Center. You can pretty much go down Wisconsin Avenue and then take a left up Water Street. It is the Waterfront Deli. It is a classic. They do breakfast, they do lunch, they have salads, soups, pizzas. They have a hot special every day, a cold special every day. You can order food to go online to pick up. They have seating on the second level upstairs with a conveyor belt system that brings food up. And it is a phenomenal lunch spot. Every day, rotating menu, different. Sometimes they have like a pot pie, sometimes a lasagna, sometimes you'll get like a burrito, sometimes, and every day though, there's 3 or 4 soup options, there's 3 or 4 pizza options, and then a cold sandwich, a hot sandwich, and then a half sandwich and soup combo. It's awesome. It's like probably one of the best lunch spots that I recommend. Whenever somebody travels into our corporate office and they're like, I'm not sure what it should do for lunch, it's like, hey, I'm going to go pick up something at the Waterfront Deli. Come with. So that's and you're far enough away. If you have the time to make the walk and the go, you'll just get some of the downtown work, lunch traffic, but they move quick. You're oftentimes but know what you're ordering. When you get up, that guy doesn't mess around. It's not like the soup guy on Seinfeld, but you're expected to know what you're going to order when you get to them, and they write it down. It's to go or here, name, and you move on. Like, do not, get analysis paralysis about what you're getting for lunch when you step up to that counter, because he will not have time for your shit. All right, best spot to get a drink.
I'm trying to. So I mean, Ty, you and I can probably think of a few. So everyone will tell you this one. So right, and actually the two. So again, north of the Baird Center, if you go to Old World 3rd Street, I'll say the Old German Beer Hall, if that's what you're looking. There's an experience there. It is an old German beer hall, right? It kind of does that. That's a cool thing. I have a really cool. Again, it was great when the guys were in town earlier. I got to sit with Dave Taylor and Terrace and drink a beer there, and so that's going to be a great memory for a long time around that. So. But I think, again, a lot of that's whatever, a block away, 2 blocks away. I mean, definitely within walking distance there. Am I stealing? I want to steal too many years, Ty. Again, Moe's, an Irish the Irish, and that's also I
Mm.
haven't eaten there a lot, so maybe Ty, you have
Yeah.
more there. But it again, that's an Irish pub, it's a big place. Mose is pretty
space,
big,
yeah.
a lot of space. Again, that's east, basically kind of directly east of the Baird Center. Also, again, a good place to grab food or a beer. Again, kind of that Irish pub feel around some of that too. So those are the kind of ones that are close, that kind of stand out. There's a lot of stuff on Old World 3rd Street up in that area.
Yeah, there is. Funny enough, Raph asked me for some suggestions if he was going to do like an unofficial or official Goonhammer kind of contributor meetup. And I mentioned the Old German Beer Hall as an option. Then if you're thinking near the convention center, but also up near Fiserv as you head up like Old World 3rd, Good City Brewing has their tap room right across from the Fiserv, which is really good local beer, a lot of options, cool kind of venue right outside the Deer District, the big courtyard area in front of the Fiserv Forum. I don't know what the schedule's like that week for Bucks games, but if there is a Bucks game or two, those nights would be incredibly busy by the Fiserv. Same with the other one is Major Goolsby's is right next to the Baird Center. Classic Milwaukee sports bar, good wings, tap beers. Just a great local kind of spot for like Marquette games, Bucks games, but also good wings, good beers. And then the last one, the recommendation that I don't give to a lot of people because it's kind of like my spot. So I take people there sometimes. My buddy owns a bar right between the river and the Riverside Theater, right on Wisconsin, called Stir. It's a little cocktail lounge, pool table, some beers. But you usually get some friendly people in there and some good cocktails. But that's kind of like for years it's been, my friends and I our happy hour bar. But if you're looking for a more chill kind of environment, it's tucked in next to Uli's, which is a cigar shop, and the river. Depending on the weather, there's some patio seating sometimes right on the Riverwalk, which is cool.
Yeah, and again, maybe we'll continue to do this over the next week. We're going to try and get at least 2 more podcasts in before Adepticon, and we can double check I think I've heard there's at least 2, whether it's a Bucks game or a concert or something, there's at least 2 nights that there's activities going on at Fiserv during Adepticon. So I think, again, to steer a little bit clear of the that Fiserv area, because it, again, for that window, kind of that 4-hour window, kind of the hour, a couple hours before, a couple hours after, whatever.
Yeah, like there's just more traffic downtown. There's more people walking, bars and restaurants get busy.
That said,
yeah,
everything's going to be busy, right? It's like you're still going to, you're going to be with that crowd. All those people are trying to get food and eat. You're going to be able to do it the same thing with them. Just know it's going to be there around that. So that's there. And again, maybe this is the PSA part of it. As I mentioned, again, Baird Center is big. You have a secured building. You're going to get in and out. There's there's going to be no place to like, I'm going to run out and grab lunch in 20 minutes and come back. It's just, there's nothing that's going to there's the 3rd Street Market and whatever else. That's still an hour and a half trip to go over there, get something, come over, come back, whatever. There's no like run out. So again, there'll be lots of food options in the Baird Center. Again, it'll be convention-ish prices,
pay
right?
The premium price, but yeah.
But I heard is there's probably there should be a good variety. There should be, and I think they have some pretty good options there. It's not just hopefully, again, we haven't seen it yet. I don't think it's just kind of the typical, burger fry kind of slice of pizza. I think I think they have some actual, I think they almost like a food truck kind of things that they bring in different people that serve there. We'll see again as this first year, but again, just as you think about prep, you think about your day, right? It's going to be, I'm doing my events. If I'm going to be in the Baird Center, I'm doing my events. I'm probably, if I need to do a meal or something, I'm doing it there. then it might be like, hey, it's my end of day, or hey, I have something in the morning, I don't have anything in the afternoon. I'm going to go off and grab lunch somewhere for a couple hours and make my way back. Just as you're kind of planning your day, like it's not, that you don't have, again, even when we were in Schaumburg, right? You're like, I could jump in my car, go across the street, hit a whatever that, hit a Chipotle or something, and probably, be back in half hour to 45 minutes. If I could find a parking spot, right?
Right.
Back in the day on some of that stuff. But I think, again, just people trying to kind of get the lay of the land on some of that, and set expectations, right? It's all about having expectations, and if you kind of set your expectations right, then you'll be fine. So,
all right, and then scavenger hunt, thing to see. And you can't tell them exactly where it is. You just gotta.
Can I don't know. Can I pick the obvious one?
Sure.
Which is like the Fonzie statue.
The bronze fonts, yeah.
Yeah.
Find the
that's
bronze
the one that
fonts.
jumps out. I mean, I got to do a better job in the future of finding some. There's other stuff, but that's one that jumps out.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I could say find Gertie the duck, the little duck statue. I could say, but what I will tell you is that somewhere within a 15-minute walk of the convention center is a mural of Giannis Antetokounmpo. That is awesome. Big kind of old Cream City brick building site. I think it was originally like a brick building, but now it's got a Giannis mural. That's worth seeing, and it's it's a 15-minute walk. From the Baird Center, we'll get you to the Giannis mural.
Yep.
So that's the scavenger hunt item for find the bronze fonts, and then find Giannis.
No, that's a good one. I don't even think about that, Ty, because I see it too much. It might be viewable from my office if anybody knows where I work. So
we might have to break this episode up into 2 parts if we don't wrap it up. So I think I'm going to force us to move into
we're good
news and events. So one thing obviously coming up is Adepticon. We've spent a lot of time talking about that. Before that, there's a couple. So New Game, Mini Palooza, they're kind of one-day gaming events. I think that's Oshkosh, right? Or no?
Yep. Yeah, Oshkosh area. Yep. I think the true game Palooza is up there now, and now they're doing these one game sites. So kind of like you talked about Phoenix Con, there's a lot of things a lot of advertisements for different things going on at Midwinter that I just threw on here to talk about quick. So
Fire and Ice, Sheboygan, February 21st through the 23rd. Is that more RPG?
No, it's a good mix. Again, small. It probably has a very much of a Midwinter feel. I think they're at a small thing. I haven't been up there in 10 years. I played a 40K tournament probably there back in the day. But again, I think they have a few miniature tournaments, a few RPGs, board games, little vendor hall. Again, nice little small convention if you're looking to run up there for a day or two.
And then obviously Adepticon, March 26th through the 30th at the Baird Center. And then one we kind of talked to one of the Man Oasis guys about, because it was in his hometown in Green Lake, Wisconsin, is the Rose, ROSE Con, June 26th through 29th. There it is. Like a retreat, right? What is it?
Yeah, I think, it was like, go play board games and do yoga
and wellness, beach volleyball, yoga,
beach volleyball,
painting, gaming, tournaments,
90
swap
bucks.
meet, game library. Not your usual convention. Might be worth checking out if you're in the market for a summer gaming and wellness retreat. And then obviously, all things BoD can be found on basementofdeath.com. All of our event info, you'll see some cool promos for Space Hulk, MCP with teasers, the Inquisitor's Last Message, kind of the key kickoff for the Imperia Maledictum RPG sessions I'll be running. That Troy did some incredible design work on. And then, info at basementofdeath.com if you're interested in any of those unpaid internships. But as always, leave a review, like and subscribe, YouTube, download, tell your friends. We love spreading our fun and 3 hours plus of game conversation whenever we can. And for now, thanks, Troy, for being here. Thanks, Josh and Bryce, for being here in spirit.
Yep.
And keep the dice rolling, the drinks on ice, and no matter what, keep playing and slaying.